a new dawn, it's a new day. Some things are different, but nothing has changed. Still got my number, still got my name. Tell everybody I'm back in the game. This is my time, faster than ever, hungry and I'm going to come back and take what is mine, bigger and better. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. Some things are different, but nothing has changed. Still got my number, still got my name. Tell everybody I'm back in the game. Saddle, cut to the chase. I ain't somebody who stays in one place. Ready to go, I'm coming to play. You better know I still got something to say. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. Some things are different, but nothing has changed. Still got my number, still got my name. Tell everybody I'm back in the game. am a fighter. I'm a fighter. I'm a survivor. Even if I fall, I'll be up again, 'cause I'm a fighter. I am a fighter. I'm a survivor. Never lay down, never give up. I am a fighter. I am a fighter. Yeah, I'm a fighter. I am a fighter. I've been tried and you know I've been tested, but I won't back down. No, I'll never surrender. I've seen the proof. I know the truth. This is what I was made to do. I was born for this. I was born for this. I get hit and I might start bleeding, but I'm not on the floor staring at the ceiling. I'll give you something to believe in. About to show you now that it's more than just a feeling. I was born. Never met a match I couldn't handle. No one else could ever hold a candle. Get ready for a battle, 'cause you know that I was born for this. I was born for this. Never met a match I couldn't handle. No one else could ever hold a candle. Get ready for a battle, 'cause you know I was born. I tell you I was born for this. Ain't nothing gonna stop me now. I was born for this.
Live from Lincoln, Alabama, home of the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. As tonight, Team 606 iRacing presents the Appalachian Flood Relief 75 right here on LSRTV, your home for all things sim racing. Hello everyone, I'm Tim Moore, and alongside me calling the shots tonight is my partner Alex Light, and producing tonight's broadcast while likely doing 6 other jobs at once is the fabulous Cody Wooten. And tonight is simply going to be spectacular. Not only do we get to put on a fun show here for the fans, but we also get an opportunity to do something for charity and have an opportunity to utilize racing as an outlet to help support a bigger cause. And we'll go into more on that into just a moment, but Alex, I first want to go to you because we're here, the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. We're going to see these trucks at times 3 or 4 abreast. bump drafting, it's going to be hard in these trucks. Sometimes, it gets a little bit sketchy getting to the rear bumper. But when these trucks get racing, they get racing real good and hard. And it creates some good, fun, hard, competitive racing, which makes me want to ask, obviously, from a driver's standpoint, your goal is to keep it clean to get to the end. There'll be 2 fast repairs here tonight. But what exactly is the recipe for success here when you come to a track like Talladega?
I mean, you can have 2 different kinds of thoughts on this, 2 different strategies. When it comes to super speedway racing in general, you can either be the guy who gets out in front and then tries to control the pace of the race. But in these trucks, it's a lot harder to do. We've seen throughout all sorts of different leagues and different styles of racing, these trucks that just, you can't quite control the pace as well as you can in maybe the Xfinity car or the next-gen car. But you might see some guys also try and hang back towards the back, wait for that big wreck to happen, and then try to make their move later in the race once everybody else is dinged up. You do mention those fast repairs, though, so 2 fast repairs, and that gives them the option, if they do get caught up in some trouble, they're able to just go in, get it repaired quickly, so they could be a little bit more aggressive. We're not going to have stage cautions here, so the only cautions that are going to happen is if there are wrecks. So we don't have that competition caution that you might see in most leagues. And oh my goodness, somebody is going to the moon there on the infield. But it's going to be interesting to see the mix of strategies here tonight. You're going to see a variety of things. You might see guys try and charge to the front. You might see guys hang back and just kind of wait it out. Normally, for me personally, I'm one of those guys that tries to just get to the front. I want to be ahead of all the chaos, and doesn't always work out for the best of me, Tim.
See, it's interesting you say that, because for me, it all really depends on the car. And I know that sounds crazy, but here in the trucks, it's very similar, I want to compare to ARCA on the iRacing platform, where you kind of find the momentum of runs, and really, like you say, being out in front and having the wrecks be behind you is a lot more easier to do, in my opinion, of trucks. But I also emphasize it like this. I like to generate a feeling sense. Kind of like, if you look at drivers like Denny Hamlin, for example, in the Cup Series, you know how everyone talks about that sixth sense he kind of has of when you can sense trouble and you know when's the right time to go. It's very important on trying to find that right time, but also kind of have an idea of saying, hey, things are getting too much. Let me step back a little bit and try to avoid getting into trouble. So I think a lot of drivers here tonight, I'm not saying there's going to be carelessness, but I think a lot, we're going to see a lot of aggressiveness early on. But at some point, if we get 1-2 accidents in, that's where I think we start to see things calm down. But I do want to get to the track facts real quick here tonight, because it's going to be an interesting race. We mentioned 75 laps here tonight around the virtual Talladega Motor Speedway, or Super Speedway, that is. And you see it right there, 2 fast repairs. These drivers will have opportunities if they crash to get back into the race. And again, here at Talladega, it's carnage. There's going to be a lot of cautions. That's the fact of the matter. But that's the beauty of super speedway racing. In terms of tire sets, it's going to be unlimited, and 2 green-white checkered attempts if we do see overtime, which, Alex, makes me also send this question. We talk about it almost every time we head to a super speedway. A group here tonight that's not exactly so familiar with racing each other, what's the likelihood here in this event that we're going to see more than 75 laps in this race?
I mean, even with groups that are familiar with each other, it's very often that you see more than what the scheduled lap count is. I think it's going to be pretty likely that we're going to see that. It just depends on how quick these guys can adapt to each other, how aggressive they're going to be at the end. I mean, you never know. We might bunch it up with 5 to go and go green, and then you're going to have guys making bold moves right at the end to try and jump to that front. I mean, there's prize pool here for the top 3. You're racing for money. Yeah, we're raising money for charity and everything, but if you're on the track right now, your focus is you want to try and bring home that bank. So we're going to see a lot of aggressiveness at the end, and I very well think we're going to be having at least 1 overtime chance, but you could possibly see both. Just depends on how aggressive these guys want to be and how risky they want to be in their moves towards the end.
Indeed, Alex, and you mentioned it. The payout system works like this. First place gets $100 for the victory here tonight. Second will get $50, and third will get $25. And then a random driver that finishes on the lead lap here this evening will also walk home with a $25 prize. That, of course, combining to over $200 in prizes. But we have to remember the importance. It's not about the prize money. It's not about this. It's about putting on a good show for charity here tonight. And, folks, I just want to remind you that tonight's race, again, is brought brought to you by Team 606 and the Appalachian Flood Relief, as tonight we're uniting to help those in eastern Kentucky as the region of Appalachia has seen historic, and I mean historic amount of flooding that has caused devastating damage, that's caused thousands of people, unfortunately, their livelihoods at home where they've had to move out and evacuate. All donations here tonight will be sent directly to the local resource center, and it's especially going to be dedicated as well to helping the youth within the community to help find resources, rather if that's clothing, shelter, or even education during these times while these individuals all have to move out, unfortunately, of their local areas. So if you have interest in donating, you can use the link in the description. It's attached on the bottom where you'll see in the info tab on this broadcast on your screens, rather if you're using it mobilely or digitally. You'll look far on the bottom, we'll have the regular transcript, and on the bottom there's a GoFundMe link right there. The goal tonight, we're trying to raise all $500. We're currently $251 in, halfway to our goal. I'm hoping that we can get there tonight to do what we can here to help this community. But Alex, either way, we're closing in under 3 minutes left in qualifying, and this is kind of the time now where we start to see things really kind of set the tone. Obviously, starting position, not the most important in super speedways, but I got to ask, are you one of those types that like to turn around and try to qualify to get up in the front early, or do you just sit back, start from the back, and slowly pick off cars one at a time?
Me personally, I definitely want to get out to the front. I mean, it bunches up real bad in the back, usually pretty quick here in the trucks, and so I try to jump out ahead. I want to try and get to the front as quick as I can. And the big thing with the trucks when it comes to qualifying is, especially at Talladega, you want to try and just maximize as much speed into the corners as you can and coming out of the corner. So sometimes it's just drifting like half a lane, maybe a lane up on the back stretch and front stretch, and then coming down, letting the truck naturally come into the turns. That'll help you get the most speed. How about you, Tim? Or do you like to go from the front? Do you like to be one of the guys trying to control the pace, or do you like to try and pick guys off one at a time?
Well, see, it's funny because I'm the epitome of a horrific plate racer in this regard. I like to sit in the back and kind of let the race come to me, but I also like flexing the speed a little bit and saying, hey, I'm really fast at going wide open. For those folks that may know me, my name's Timothy J. Moore on iRacing, and I love super speedway weeks. I love going to tracks and trying to set the qualifying record in fixed official races practically every time we see Talladega or Daytona, and no matter what car it is, even in the Legacy 87's cars. But I'll tell you, usually I like to start up front if I can, get as close to the pole, qualify, and then, let the race continue to come. I don't expect to lead every lap. Is it good to be in front and have the wreck behind you? Easily, or I should say, yes, you should. But at the same time, for me, it's more of relax, let the race come to you, and feel around, because if you feel everyone around you is being way too reckless, way too early, it's going to be easy to kind of feel that, and you're going to say, hey, I'm going to drop to the back, I'm going to let them crash, and I'll get there when the end comes. You almost, and I go back to the Denny Hamlin point, you have to have almost a sixth sense here to be successful here at Talladega. Yeah, a little bit of luck has to come. You can't miss every single wreck, but you have to be at least aware of what is going on the racetrack to give you an idea. But we're slowly counting down about 30 seconds, and in fact, we're about 10 seconds away from the command, which we have a special command here tonight, coming in within now 10 seconds. And I say, Cody, how about we tune it in to our very own Anthony Alfredo for the command?
Hey drivers, this is NASCAR driver Anthony Alfredo. Good luck in tonight's Appalachian Food Relief 75. You're racing the trucks at Talladega. It's going to be exciting. It's for a great cause. Hope everyone's all right from the devastating floods out in Kentucky. Praying for everyone and their families. But tonight, we're going to try to raise as much funding as possible to help with the relief. Gentlemen, start your engines.
And we welcome you back here at LSRTV as we get ready for the opening grid for the Appalachian Flood Relief 75 here at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. Starting on pole is Simon Srigas, the driver of the 020, and Clint Cox will start to his outside of row number one. Danny Cochran will start P3. Nathan Mascroft will start to his outside in P number 4. In row number 3, it's Tim No, one of the bigger donators we've seen regarding the fund. He will start next to Jason Gordon in the 29. In row number 4, it's Philip Clement, and to his outside, it's John Cox. In row number 5, you have Jeremy Bucurin and also Austin Green. How about row 6 through 10, Alex?
In row 6, we have the 32 of James Seacrest, and next to him is Francesco Caduno. In row 7, we have the 26 of Rodney Roberts and the 8 of Chris Stamper. Going back to row 8, we have Max Bruce in the 89, and then we have Luis Felipe de los Cobos in the 65. Over to row 9, we have the 36 of TJ Majors and the 15 of John Turner. And rounding out the top 20, the 31 of Jacob Zapp and the 61 of Matt Carroll. We go back to you here for row 11, Tim.
Indeed, Donald Powers will start to the inside of row 11. Trey Mitz will start to his outside for P22. Starting 23rd, it's Cole Larson and Jesus Vasquez will start to his outside in P24. Michael Ball will start in the inside of row 13. Cody Reed to his outside. In row number 14, it's Daniel Staub and Dustin Adams. In row number 15, you have Christopher Norris and Mike DeGroot. In row 16, you have Tyler Dengler and Mitchell Malone. Row 17, Jason Blatz and J.R. Miller. Row 18, you have Darren Haleman and Edward Fielder. Row 19, Dennis Rayo Jr. and Eddie Donahue. And rounding out the field, you have John Tarrant and Mason Kramer in the number 1. So we'll see, or excuse me, not rounding out the field, rather Nick Little in row 21 and Dalen Glasgow. And that will round out the field in row 21. Apologies for that, 42 trucks in the field here tonight compared to the 40 that we're necessarily used to. But again, this is all for a good cause, and the field is filled all the way out, and we get ready to go green this time by. But there's a very noticeable name in this lobby. Alex, you mentioned him, I believe, all the way in row 9 of T.J. Majors, of course, spotter in the Cup Series. And the big thing is this is, I wonder who's going to be clearing him tonight. Usually he's the one saying door bumper clear and setting the pace for guys like Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Joey Logano in the Cup Series, as well as many other drivers throughout his career. Really known here in this iRacing platform for, you know, his not just his spotting ability, but as well his driving ability. I think he's going to be a fun one to watch throughout the night, as well as Cole Larson, who was a driver, very interesting practice. Got to see him mix around, try to test the boundaries a little bit. We're going green this time, and the energy's going to pick up 75 laps, and it's going to be a race from start to finish. No stages to my knowledge, so it should be interesting here, Alex.
Yeah, definitely will. I mean, fully expect these trucks in the first 5 or so laps to be racing side by side. Maybe early on some aggression trying to go 3 wide. Again, we said they have 2 faster pairs. So you have a little bit of leeway here with these trucks being able to beat and bang them around. But, I mean, once you get past those 2, that's it. You wreck it, then you're pretty much done for the night. So it'll be interesting to see the strategies here. You see a bunch of guys up front. One of them that I'm familiar with is the 31. You see on his truck the 31, but he's the 2 on the sim of Danny Cochran. He's a very good super speedway racer. I fully expect him to be aggressive off the start behind Simon Rodriguez. But, yeah, I mean, 3 wide, I fully expect that pretty quickly here. But it's going to be a lot of intense races that go to door as we come around the tri-oval, Tim.
Indeed, here they go to the tri-oval, and they slowly approach the Geico restart zone, where the trucks will slowly spread out. And we get ready to go green. Here they go, approach the zone, and they're waiting for the green flag out here at Talladega. And already a couple guys squirming around trying to jump. But at least for the moment, it's Rodriguez out in front, as it looks like they're spinning.
Already wrecking.
Back, already heading towards turn number 1, and caution is out.
Well, that didn't take long. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe it was checkups in the back. We'll get a replay here in a moment. But as they came around the tri-oval, we saw guys already sideways. It was a crazy start here. Didn't think we were going to get that much action off the start.
I didn't think we were going to get that much action. Perhaps maybe somebody missed a shift, as it looks like we are looking at the 96, Daniel Staub, who is heading through the tri-oval here. And you see them separated out, especially on that top row. And yeah, somebody either ran in the back of someone back there or missed a shift, and it caused a chain reaction. And Staub a little bit of nose damage. Oh, goodness. Yeah, there's more ARCA braking, as they like to call it, piling in further on in the back. And get that first caution in the evening, but I'm going to be honest, at least in the case of Staub, it's a little bit of nose damage. I think a couple of these trucks are repairable. Not really much of a need to take a fast repair, with the exception of a couple of trucks that took very hard hits near the outside wall.
Yeah, there were a few that either hit the outside wall. We saw the 96 actually hit head on with another driver. And the one thing about these trucks, they overheat pretty quickly, especially at Talladega. So it's something to be careful of once you hit that front end in. So hopefully something they can get repaired without having to use that fast repair, because it's 75 laps. I mean, it's a long race here at Talladega, so you want to try and save those. But one moment here, I want to talk about just the trucks who started from pit road. We had about 7 or so of them that chose to not start on the track, and it seems like they had the benefit there.
Yeah, they absolutely had the benefit because they opted to miss the chaos. And of course, if you were further on the front, going back to your point at the start of the race, Alex, well, you watched it all happen behind you. But honestly, again, here at Talladega Super Speedway, these restarts are all jumbled up because you're trying to develop momentum. But even though you necessarily wouldn't exactly think of that to be the case here, but very similar to almost when you go to a short track, you tend to see these cars kind of stack up on restarts if they miss shift, or if they get too early of a run and have to check up, and then you see utter chaos. Again, I think that's just drivers reacting to the green flag right there, and that's what caused them all to stack up at the end of the tri-oval. The other thing I'm interested to see, I'm not sure if the caution came out after every driver crossed the line or before, because you see a couple of these guys slowing down. My other question is, the way iRacing works, when you come to take lap number 1, in particular, if you have not crossed the start-finish line to take the green flag, you actually will have to wait for the pace car to pass you and take the wave around. So needless to say, I wonder if a couple of these guys were also trapped, needless to say, quote-unquote, 1 lap down, and will have to take this the wave around under caution. I would imagine especially those guys that wait in the pits are going to have to do so.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. It seems like the guys that wait in the pits, they might not have gotten out before pit road had closed, because that caution came out so quickly. Because if you start from the pits, you have to wait for the entire field to pass before it lets you go. And so with that ruling, pit road would have been closed by the time they exited. So it almost seems like they're going to be a lap down to start this race. So maybe they ended up getting burnt in that situation. That's kind of what it seems like right now, looking at things. But I mean, that's what happens when you wreck right on the start. It just jumbles up. iRacing, when it's just on its own, it just kind of gets a little wonky. But it will end up working itself out as we go, I think.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Mason Kramer is still in the pits. You have Eddie Donahue back on the racetrack 1 lap down. Then you have Kevin Haleman, who is 2 laps down. You have 34 trucks on the lead lap. Daniel Staub, who we saw involved in that accident, currently is the last truck. Cole Larson lost 10 positions. He was also involved in that. He currently sits in the 33rd position, and actually he just hit the pits right now on the edge. Actually now just went 1 lap down along with Staub. So a lot of guys lapped down early, but again, there's still a long way to go, 75 laps. And again, wrecking is a part of Talladega. It's a fact of the matter here. And it's not saying that these drivers are reckless, but when you're in pack racing, all it takes is one little mishap, and everyone, and I mean everyone, just like you even saw there in that restart, ultimately gets involved. And just because you're a lap down now doesn't mean you won't get back on the lead lap eventually. That's why I think I applaud a lot of these drivers. If they don't feel like they had too much of extensive damage, come down, take the optional, and take your time starting to come back through the field, because I'm sure you're making a chance to get back on the lead lap eventually.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, I mean, you think about it, like we said, these drivers are not familiar with each other. It's going to take some time. So there's bound to be miscues and mistakes happen throughout the race, and it's going to bring out more cautions. So you'll be able to get laps back for sure. Or even if you just fall off the pace, you'll be able to get that recovered as we go. It seems like things are starting to get figured out here. Maybe we have double up. So we are going 1 to go. So, yeah, here we go. We're going wave rounds now.
Trying to double them up, and we'll go green this time by as everyone gets waved around the pace car. Well, actually, it looks like a couple more cars trying to get waved around. But there is one thing for sure, and I believe that Danny Cochran is actually, correction, I'm going to scratch that because now he just fell to third. Perhaps Clint Cox is going to be your leader. Looks like a little bit of confusion. Everyone trying to figure out if they're supposed to pass the pace car or not. But again, that goes to my point of, listen, havoc unfortunately happens at lap 1 here from time to time. And the admin's doing a good job here tonight. They're just trying to sort that out, get everyone back on the lead lap. But needless to say, we will go green here this time by at the virtual Talladega Superspeedway, unless they opt to delay the green, which I don't think they will. Here they go, slowly but steadily out of turn 4. And Alex, they're going to start to wind up here in just a second. How aggressive do you think you're going to be pushing up in the front, even though it's still early?
I don't know. I mean, we could see guys try to get to the bottom and just single file it, trying to see if they could pull away from the back. But I could honestly see maybe Cox trying to really push out the 41 behind him, try and really go. I could see the 31 on the 5 up top also try and see if they can get out to the front. It's hard on the outside because you can see as they go around, coming around the backstretch, they get that momentum, but it's hard to clear. There's not a lot of space to be able to get that done.
Oh, you see a car flying all the way on the apron. That can't happen, but here we go. Green flag is out, and that is definitely a black flag for whoever just Kyle Busch to restart, as it looks like Sarigas, well, maybe, you know what, that's, I think, who was supposed to be your leader when the caution came out, which is why he went to the front. As Sarigas goes to the point, you have Cochran trying to work on the high side. Is there 2x2 down the back straightaway?
It looks like the 31 of Danny Cochran going to get out front. Sarigas dropping back. He's got Cox trying to push him, and looks like we might have 3 cars clear heading into turn number 3, and it looks like the 20 is going to be able to get down. So your new leader, the 2 or the 31 of Danny Cochran, and now the 29 out there, Josh Gordon, dropping back. So now your top 3, Danny Cochran, Nathan Mascroft, and Austin Green.
Indeed, they're trying to do what they can as their single file on the bottom. You have Cochran, at least for the moment, about 2-3 tenths ahead, or excuse me, not 2-3 tenths, rather 2-3 car lengths ahead of the car all the way back in fourth. For the moment, Mascroft sits on the bumper as well as Green, and then you see Sarigas on the bottom. But this middle lane trying to form as they're continuing to work off turn 2. They continue 2x2. Here comes the big push as it looks like Kobos now, and here comes the lane switch. Here comes Green to the high side as he'll challenge down the back straightaway. They're trying to do what they can to at least get this middle lane going. But as this race continues on, it's going to be the preferred line without a doubt. The question is, at what point do these guys start getting a little bit aggressive and start making it 3 wide as they head out of turn number 4? They'll come to take lap number 7. Green challenging on the outside. Let's see if he can get to the lead at the start-finish line. It's going to be close, not quite there. That's how by Cochran leads the lap as they head back into turn number 1. Numbers at least still disadvantage on the outside, but that's okay. They can still build that momentum as they head to turn 2. Cochran fades up the track a little bit. Maybe thinking about trying to block that middle lane, but Mascroft giving them a good push down the back straightaway. They're trying to do, right now, a little bit of momentum shifting, not too much side drafting. As they work towards turn 3, 1 car jumping out of line, 2 cars jumping out of line, almost near calamity in the back of the field. But now they'll try to settle back out and keep it straight. As here comes Green, trying to get to the rear. They're 3, 4, 1 car flipping out of the racetrack. He goes and cautions out. Oh goodness, another one. Oh goodness. That is Donald Powers stuck in the catch fence, and there's another car that went flipping over and over as they headed towards the straightaway out of turn 4. One of the most devastating accidents you will ever see here at Talladega, and here is the replay. Mentioned you saw seeing them slice and dice as they headed through turn 3. And 1 car cleared itself, and here goes the big loop-de-loop and flip for Powers. But if Cody, if you can move up a little bit further up, there is another car that launched to the moon as well. So there was 2 trucks that went flipping very, very high. And we'll try to get another view at it. But that was calamity. We believe it could be Rodney Roberts. See what happens here as they head through turns 3 and 4. And to this point, this is where you'll start seeing the clearing. And at this point, once you're seeing this, there's nowhere to go. And here comes the other flip right there. Goodness. Unfortunate. Rodney Roberts. And Alex, I know you had a brief technical difficulty, but chaos just ensued as now we're starting to see pit stops under caution. Getting to see that replay. How you feeling? We saw 2 trucks and a mission to Mars.
We had people join the Talladega space program. How about that? what a journey here to start. Not even 10 laps in, and we already have people going over the catch fence, basically. That was quite the replay to just come back to once I got things all settled. So interesting to see pit stops already happening. We see the 31 taking 4 tires. I would assume fuel is kind of the strategy, but I mean, if you got unlimited tires, you might as well take them while you have them, right, Tim?
Well, indeed, and the other question is I believe they're doing 100% fuel in this race, so theoretically you come down now, Alex, and by the way, unlimited fuel and tires like you mentioned, but this should put them in the window to make it a one-stop race rather than a 2. Of course, I mean, obviously we've seen 2 cautions to this point, so the fact of, how do I put it, rather, the fact of them basically seeing a green flag pit stop, 2 of them from the start of the race was going to be very unlikely, but at least this should put them in the window to make it a one-stop race from this point on out. So that'll be interesting when we go green. I believe we're going to go green next time by as we're 2 to green, but you see a couple trucks as well staying out, mixing up. A couple guys, remember, pit under that first caution. So we've now seen at least the first cycle. Everyone got a couple laps to calm down and relax, but Nathan Mascroft is your leader with Jason Gordon in second. And Simon Sarigas, despite everything that went on, he overall still finds himself, in the mix in third. But I'm surprised a lot of these guys opted to stay out here, Alex.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, as you said, trying to make it a one-stop, because it's, I believe, if I remember correctly, fuel here lasts about 35 laps or maybe 30 laps, somewhere in between there. It's about a regular fuel run in the trucks. And that's if you're in traffic. If you're in front, it's going to take a little bit more because you don't have anybody to kind of relax off of. You can't lift off the throttle. You have to keep it down. But it's interesting to see these guys not come in. It's kind of like they're banking on several other cautions to happen as we go. I mean, the first 10 laps, we've already seen 2, so I think it's pretty evident that we're at least going to have another 1 or 2 before we get to that midway point for fuel.
Indeed, and folks, I just want to remind you again, by the way, to donate using the GoFundMe link down below if you have interest in donating to help towards the cause here this evening. But overall, we're about $10 away from receiving $250 in donations, which is absolutely incredible here to this point, to the start of the stream. And again, folks, if you're just tuning in, you're watching the Appalachian Flood Relief 75 right here on LSRTV. And we're all trying to fight a good cause here this evening, trying to help those in the Appalachian area, as unfortunately floods have devastated the entire region, having to force people to evacuate their homes. And needless to say, all these funds here tonight will go and help the youth, rather if it's finding clothing, helping educational costs, or even finding food and shelter. Anything we can do within that area, all those funds will go there right after this stream here this evening. So if you could send a donation down below, again, it's in the description. You can go utilize that through GoFundMe. Any amount is accepted, and we appreciate for those that have donated here tonight for everything you do to try to help. And needless to say, I hope you sit back, enjoy the race, and again, for those who have donated, I send you your best regards and thank you. But here we go, Alex. We're getting ready to go green, laps 10 of 75, and when I go green, there'll be 65 laps to go. We've seen chaos early on. I don't know if any wreck can maybe beat what we just saw here tonight in terms of trucks flipping, but I have a feeling that we're not done with the chaos, at least early on in this race. I still think a lot of these guys that have at least 2 fast repairs left are going to start getting a little bit antsy for some track position to set themselves up for the back half of this race.
Yeah, I mean, we have 31 drivers still on the lead lap here, so there's going to be a lot of chaos going on here. We've already seen 3-wide racing, and it resulted in some chaos, so I wonder if we're going to start to see these drivers start to calm down a little bit and try and see if they can just keep it down to two wide, maybe single file, and see if they can get some green flag laps in. Maybe see if they can figure out how each other run, how the bump run go. I mean, how the drafting goes, how much bump you can give somebody, who can take a bump, things like that. Or if we're going to see just full throttle trying to get to the front again.
Indeed, well, here we go. The slow crawl to the Geico restart zone. We'll see what happens here. As it looks like a couple trucks trying to lay back. And here we go. Green flag is out for Nathan Mascroft. And I mean, he's going to be easily clear as Simon Sarigas will try to get to the bumper of Mascroft heading towards turn number 1. The first truck, at least on the outside, looks to be Gordon, but he's unable to get clear, and I believe now they finally all got to the bottom line as they head off turn number 2 here, Alex.
Yeah, you got the 5 leading Nathan Mascroft. Up on the high side, the 29 still by himself with Jason Gordon, and you just see it's just chaos further back, fighting for about P15 to P20. You're 3 wide, and looks like they're going to be able to get single file here on the top line. The 37, though, hung out to dry on Michael Ball, so he'll probably drop back. But you see the front about 7 or 8 now starting to pull away here, and now we start to see a little bit of organization going on.
Even Brendan Griffith, by the way, we thank you for your $50 donation towards the cause here this evening. But here we go. The second line starting to form up. We saw it took about 2 laps on that last restart to get going, but it's for the moment at least 6-7 cars single file on the bottom. But it's Mascroft still leading as they head off turn number 2. It looks like that outside, though, slowly but steadily starting to form, but a little bit of swerving action, at least in the middle lane, is now they're going to try to make it 3 wide down the back straightaway.
Yeah, it's tough. You see, they're just not able to get in line with each other, and the big thing is you need to keep these trucks as straight as you can in a line. Otherwise, you're sacrificing speed. On that high line, you have to be directly behind the person in front of you. You see Danny Cochran trying to do that there in the 31, and he's doing the best he can to be right on the bumper of the 20 as he's almost pushing him onto the front stretch.
Yeah, Austin Green doing a good job trying to pinch. Here we go. A little bit of flipperoo as it's now 3 trucks up in the middle lane. As it looks like for the moment, it'll be 2 cars clear of the point. But here they go trying to push nice and hard. Sechrist leaving that high side. The question is, will they get the momentum down the back straightaway? He's going to try to side draft off too, but now washes up the track a little bit, and they spread all the way up to the wall as they head down the back straightaway. Yeah,
they get a good bit of a run, but it almost seems like because they separated, they lost a lot of speed there. Usually that high line has a good run off of turn 2, just didn't have it that time. So they're going to give it another shot. They added the 84 there. But you see now it seems like it's just him and the 20 on the outside. But the side draft coming in pretty clutch here as he gets a decent run here, runs up to the wall, and is going to try and maximize that speed.
Trying to maximize that speed, but they're not finding the momentum on the entry of the corners as it looks like Green ends up ditching him going to the middle, and he'll end up being the sucker on the high side as Austin Green now trying to rip down on that side draft, almost on the bottom line, but right in the middle as they head off the exit of the corner. I just still don't think the numbers right there are good enough to build the momentum right now. Everyone's kind of being lax in that middle lane right now, Alex. As I say that, cars starting to switch around a little bit, try to peek up towards that middle lane.
Yeah, we're starting to see that middle lane pile up a little bit more. You almost see the 39 trying to go, getting a look to the outside, just not going to commit to it. But it's, I mean, honestly, it comes down to timing, trying to see when that outside line is making a run, when can you jump to it. As you see this massive outside line starting to come up, you see the 20, I believe that's the 39, of Jeremy Buchanan jumping to the outside, seeing if he can ride that wave.
And they're trying to be careful as you see them nearly 3 wide further on back. But for the moment, no sitting in the 3rd spot, or maybe he has an opportunity. Here we go. 3 wide for about the 5th position. Looks like everyone's going to cycle. We have 1 car going to the 8th lane, almost coming up the racetrack. Goodness, that was almost calamity, but they all keep it straight down the back straightaway. There's a near mishap there in turn number 2.
Wow, that was an impressive save to be able to keep that from just ending up in total chaos. And you can see the 22 dropping back here, the 32 alongside of him. But we're 2x2 for quite a while. There's TJ Majors, listed as the 36, but 22 on track. He's currently sitting back in 16th, but he seems to be kind of just minding his own business, waiting for opportunities to come to him as we come around to the Tri-Oval.
And no surprise seeing TJ Majors in the 22. Again, for those that don't know, TJ Majors is the Cup Series spotter for Joey Logano in the NASCAR Cup Series, as well as a mix of other spotters throughout Xfinity, and most notable for his time with Dale Earnhardt Jr. on top of the spotter stand. But here we go through turn 3, or rather off turn 2, as we lost the driver, it seems, coming off the exit to the corners. And we're starting to see it at least a little bit. A couple guys bailing out on that high side, but there have been a couple drivers fearless up there trying to at least make that third line work, Alex.
Yeah, the third line's a really interesting one. I personally like whatever, especially in like the next gen cars, but the trucks, it's really hard to try and get that going. But the one thing, this outside line, we just haven't seemed to find somebody who can really push that front. Because every time somebody gets up there, it seems like they get moved out of the way or decide, hey, it's not worth it, I'm going to drop back. Oh, we have a caution, by the way.
Indeed, caution is out for the third time here this evening in the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. Josh Turner looks to be the truck that went around. And we'll see what happened here to Turner as we're coming off, I believe this is turn 4, indeed it is. And you see them starting to slowly but steadily kind of fan out, very similar to the first accident where here we go, now the third lane's starting to come. And well, yeah, that's definitely an incident right there where you saw them kind of fan out, Alex, and click back together. And oh, goodness, Turner almost, and I think there was more wrecking after that, but almost got piled into by the trucks on the bottom. So while he took a hard hit, he really got a big break, because I think he would have blown the engine had he gotten hit in that zone coming back down the racetrack. Yeah,
it definitely would have been a faster pair, but even a tow if the engine blew up. So got a little bit of a blessing in disguise there with the way he got hit.
Definitely a blessing in disguise. Needless to say now, it'll be pit stops that will come under caution. And of course, the last time by, at least we saw our leader of Nathan Mascroft stay out. He's one of the drivers inside the top 5. In fact, 4 of the drivers in the top 5 are yet to pit. Simon Surigas, Tim No, and Francesco Catugno all have not pit, as here comes the 5 into the pits. I would imagine it's going to be 4 tires and fuel here, Alex.
I would think so. We saw the first wave take 4 tires and fuel, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see that here. Looks like we have a couple staying out. You see the 41 of Tim No, who's going to stay out and take the lead. The 65 of Luis Felipe de los Cobos is going to stay out, as well as John Cox and Max Preus. And those are the guys, including James Seacrest, that they didn't stop the first time around. So an interesting strategy there, Tim. Through the first 20 laps, they're not going to stop and take any fuel to top off.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by that, because I'll tell you right now, Tim No is one of those drivers that have not come down and pit. Obviously, you mentioned Luis as well. He is the other driver that has not pit yet, at least to this point. In fact, 1st, 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 8th are the only drivers I could see, at least on the radar to this point, that have not pit yet at any point in this race. So this is going to be interesting, needless to say, because they're about, I'd say, a quarter of the way through the fuel run, and while you're banking on cautions, I just don't know. However, we're going to take a quick break here. Don't go anywhere, as we're racing here at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. You're watching LSRTV, and tonight's broadcast of the Appalachian Flood Relief 75. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's broadcast personality Wesley Outlet up topside at one of the great racetracks of the world, the Caraway Speedway. And I'd like to remind you to join us every Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern with coverage of Finish Line, where we talk to everybody from NASCAR to grassroots, like right here at Caraway Speedway. Carolina's Fox Sports Radio affiliates, iHeartRadio, and on the Community Radio Network at 87.5 FM. And remember, thanks to Live Sim Racing Productions, you can actually see the guest panel, ask their questions, get interactive with us with comments, and so much more in our chat box. Finish Line every Wednesday. Join us every week.
When do you plan on putting in that new fence we've been talking about since last summer?
I guess I could start tomorrow.
Protect the ones you love and protect your buried utilities by contacting 811 before you dig, either by phone, the web, or the NC 811 app. Know what's below before you dig. Visit nc811.org to learn more.
And we welcome you back to the Team 606 iRacing Appalachian Flood Relief 75 here at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. As you take a look at the caution summary to this point, 3 cautions for 7 laps, and it'll be 8 laps when they come across the line this time, and a total of 6, that's right, 6 lead changes in transition to this point in the race. And Alex, I would imagine we're going to see at least 30 more lead changes once this race gets going on a long green flag run, because I'll tell you, at least before that caution, we were starting to see that second lane finally develop, but unfortunately it seems like every time to this point, once we've seen a little bit of momentum start to get built, a caution comes out. At some point, though, I think that middle line is going to eventually become sturdy enough on a restart to make it 2x2 towards the end of lap number 1.
Well, and the other thing, too, I mean, these drivers are starting to get more and more familiar with each other. As we were talking about, these drivers have never raced together before. Some of them maybe coming from different leagues or different groups, but for the most part, you're racing against strangers. It's like you're racing in an open lobby or an official lobby. So trying to see, like, who can I push, who can I run with, it's really tough, and that's part of the reason why you don't see that top line really developing as much. But you saw that last run. We had about 8 or 9 laps or so of some solid green flag racing. You saw that top line come and go. So now that these drivers are starting to figure out who can they trust, who can they run with, you're going to start to see longer and longer green flag runs.
Longer and longer green flag runs is, I mean, an absolute recipe for success here at Talladega, and it creates the most interesting of racing. But here we go, slowly, and I mean slowly towards the get-go restart zone. We'll head towards the green flag as green flag's out here at Talladega. A wonderful jump for No, who again is on one of those different strategies at this point in the race. He's been on the track for 19 laps without pitting yet to this point.
Yeah, it's an interesting call to see him and his about 3 or 4 other guys staying out so far from all pit stops. And we'll see if it works out for them. They'll be coming up on the fuel run here in probably the next 20 laps or so for them. Usually in the trucks, about, I think, 30 to 35 laps, if I remember correctly. You can see something on the top line. Somebody maybe didn't get down in gear. A slow start there on that high line. So that bottom able to single file again. And we've seen that time and time again on these restarts. That top line just cannot either get the timing down, or somebody just has a little bit of mishap that causes everything to slow up to come around to the front.
And they're trying to dig right now as they head towards the tri-oval. It looks like that middle line again, slowly but steadily starting to form, but it's a matter of time, again, in my opinion, before these guys really start getting racy. As here we go. It'll be Green that jumps to the high side, and let's see if Green can go to the lead. Here we go, 3 wide for the lead off of turn number 2.
And that is a bold move on the outside for Austin Green, the 20. And you can see the driver right behind him trying to figure out where to go. Everybody trying to pick a lane. And it looks like the 3 of Clint Cox going to be put in the sucker hole. Wait, maybe not. He has some help coming from behind. But I don't know if it's going to be enough, as they're going to try and jump in behind him. Coming around turns 3 and 4. It's going to be neck and neck coming to the line for our race lead.
And they're trying to do what they can. Green in the middle side, trying to get a little push off the corner. But here comes the 65 of Kobos. He'll now go to the third line as they're 3x3 for about third and 2x2 for the lead. It looks like Green's going to have the momentum. He'll lead that time. A little bit of a push, a little bit of a breakup as Kobos nearly hits the wall. And now they'll squeeze on down as Green will make it about a 2 or 3 car length lead. Back to the second line is now No. Peaks in the third spot with Scamper leading the middle line off turn 2.
That was a good move there by Austin Green. Jumps down to the bottom. Although sometimes, I mean, you see drivers, they try to help the other person out by getting them up to the front and get them clear as well. And we see one sideways here on the backstretch. There is contact, and there's going to be some chaos coming in to turn number 3. Caution should be coming out here shortly, as you see cars scattered all over the place entering turn 4.
Yeah, caution is out, and you saw a push that went Aaron. I'm not sure if we saw a self-clear yet again, which also could have caused the chaos. But let's see what happened here as they head down the back straightaway. See them 2-3 wide. And does the 14 come down? At that point, he's in the line. Oh, a little bit of pushing, and then not sure what caused him to go right there. But
maybe just too hard of a push, it looks like. Kind of hard to tell from that angle.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody get to the bumper, so let's try to look at a different angle here, maybe. I don't know what caused that rightward hook, at least down the back straightaway for Catugno.
It almost looked like he wasn't squared up.
It did look like he wasn't squared up, but again, I just didn't see contact to the rear bumper when he got down in line. So here we go now. Catugno gets in line, and I still don't see a push there. That looked like a netcode incident, perhaps, unfortunately, and just unfortunately wiped out the back half of the field. But, I mean, if you're the 9, that's got to be a little bit frustrating, because you were behind the 14. You obviously didn't look like you got the bumper, and ultimately, you end up paying the price.
Yeah, it's unfortunate there for the 9. And, I mean, that also goes to show how hard it is to do some of the plate racing, especially, like, if you're in the middle of the pack. All it takes is, like, one small move like that that can just create a snowball effect of just mass chaos for everybody in the back.
Yeah, well, mass chaos indeed it created, but the other thing, at least in this scenario, is it created an opportunity for a couple of these drivers to maybe think about pitting here in this one, as we're closing in towards 50 laps to go when we go green. And again, I mean, now at this point, you've seen it mix around, but at least from what I'm reading, you have No back in the 4th position. Still to this point, surprisingly, has not pit at all, nor has Priest or also John Cox, which, again, it's still intriguing to me to this point, Alex, because you're closing in on the fuel window. They would have at least another 20 laps considering the 4 cautions we've had to this point, but I just don't see why they're staying out this long.
Yeah, there's almost no point to it. I mean, you see they've been shuffled around, and even though they've stayed out, they haven't been in the... Well, they've been racing up towards the front, but they aren't leading the race. I would understand if maybe you're leading the race, you're trying to get points in like a league race, but, I mean, if you can get that fuel, try and extend that run and try and limit how many times or when you have to stop later in the race, I'd say go for it. Also, just want to mention the fact that thank you to Jenna Hayes, getting us to $300 now in donations. Again, our goal is $500, so we want to try and reach that by the end of the race, so make sure you guys go down into the description and go to that GoFundMe link. Even the small, no matter what amount, any amount helps to raise money for the flood victims down in the Appalachian Valley.
And again, and Alex, to your point, for those maybe that are just tuning in here to this feature here this evening, for those that don't know, again, unfortunately, in the Appalachian area, I mean, terrible, terrible floods that have absolutely wiped out homes, and very much hurricane-esque effects, as you can say, unfortunately, down in that area where a lot of people have had to evacuate and move on. And all these funds here tonight are going to be going to help out, rather if it's clothing, educational needs, to get these kids, education and other facilities, or even getting them food and shelter. All these causes will go to the local resource center there this evening in the Appalachian area. And again, we thank everybody that has donated, and we thank everyone here watching tonight showing some support, even if you cannot donate. But I believe they're going to take 1 to green here this time. And we should double up and go racing again here at Talladega. The question is, Alex, we saw that second line start to come early, at least this past restart. I know there's a little bit of calamity. It's going to break up the field again, but I'd have to imagine we very well could finally see this outside lane really prevail in this restart.
I think so, because you see on the outside lane here is the 20 of Austin Green. He's really liked that outside line. He's been the guy that leads the charge pretty much every single time on that outside. The question is, will he have the pushers behind him? You look a little bit further back, the 65 of Luis Felipe de los Cobos. He's been liking to jump up and push, but sometimes he's chosen to create a third line on the top up against the wall. So we'll see if he's going to be aggressive here as well. I do want to point out our hard charger here early on in the race as we get ready to go green for lap 26 is the 19 of Tyler Dangler. He's up 23 spots, up to 7th place here early on in this race.
Indeed, he's doing a good job getting up to the 7th position. And I do want to remind everyone as well, while this race is going on for charity, there's a little bit of the line in terms for these guys in the race tonight. Winner will walk home with $100, $50 for second, and $25 for the 3rd place finisher. And then a random driver not in the top 3 on the lead lap will ultimately as well earn a $25 reward here for racing here tonight for a combined prize pool of $200 here this evening. But I'll tell you what, early on, it seems like while we've seen Austin Green be one of the drivers that have been most aggressive in this field, I've still been very impressed by Nathan Mascroft as well with what he's done, as well as Danny Cochran. And of course, we've seen Cochran come down and hit the pits twice to this point. Mascroft as well, he pit the caution prior on lap 17. So we'll see what happens here, but we're getting ready to go green as Benny the pace truck driver dives down into the pits, and we take the slow climb to the Geico restart zone. It'll be Austin Green, Clint Cox in row number 1, and green flag out of Talladega. And here they go, already splitting 3 wide, but it should be easily Cox leading the way as they head towards turn 1 is Calamity. Oh goodness, the 19 of Dangler, who we had just mentioned, ends up getting turned and goes around, and the caution is out for the 5th time.
Well, that was the commentator curse there. I am so sorry, Tyler, for that one. Just huge compliment for moving up the field and then getting wrecked here, heading into turn 1. You can see the 65 here of Kobos going to the outside on the restart. And I'm not sure if that's what caused him to get turned or if it was somewhere else. We'll see here in just a moment.
Yeah, that's a hashtag blame Alex moment here.
Yeah, it
is.
is.
A little bit of tire spin, and, well, yeah, he just cleared himself. That's another situation here tonight where we've seen drivers clearing themselves, and in the case of the 19, that was a vicious hit as well after. But overall for Dangler, I think the big thing there was I think he panicked because he spun the tires, was scared he was going to get ran over, so he tried to maybe move up out of the line, and instead he put himself in essentially the eye of the tiger, as we like to say, and unfortunately got himself hunted down there.
Yeah, so it seemed to be the case. Thankfully, that fast repair will be able to get him back up into running shape. That was a big hit, even though we had just hit the restart. I mean, that car got spun around a lot. He hit the outside wall pretty hard. And sometimes with these trucks, even when you're at a slow pace, it takes little things to really mess up the engine.
It takes a lot of things to mess up the engine, but the big thing here, seems like we see everybody coming down through the pits, which is a good thing, because this is going to mix up the field, and of course a couple guys as well going to have to at least take their fast repairs at this point throughout the race. I also do want to update you at least what's going on throughout the field. Currently, we have 31 trucks still left on the lead lap. Rodney Roberts, who we saw on a mission to Mars about 3 cautions ago, is the last truck on the lead lap. Cole Larson still sits 1 lap down. He's currently the first truck 1 lap down. Then Trey Mitz sits back in 33rd, 4 laps down. Daniel Staub, who we saw in the first incident earlier today, he is 9 laps down in 34th. Mason Kramer sits 35th, 20 laps down. I believe 21 down is Jacob Zapf, and Donald Powers, another driver who we saw stuck in a catch fence off of turn number 4. He as well sits in the 37th position, 1 lap behind Mason Kramer. So I believe we should take 1 to green this time by. And interesting right there, at least from what I'm seeing, it looks like Austin Green opted to come down to the pits here as we come to take, actually we haven't taken 1 to green yet, we're still on 2 to green, but Austin Green opting to come back down and pit here, Alex.
Yeah, interesting call. I mean, I guess at this point, if you're just going for the pit stops every other caution or every caution, at this point, you're trying to see if you can just extend it to where you don't have to stop during a green flag run if we get to that point. And honestly, I think that's a pretty good call. As long as you can keep your truck clean further back in the field, you might be setting yourself up for success. Because, I mean, you take a look here up at the front, we look at the top 6 drivers. The first 2, Clinton Cox and Chris Stamper, they're the only ones that have pitted, and they pitted back on lap 8. So they're not going to be able to go as far as, say, we'll go back to Jason Blatz, who pitted on the last caution in lap 23.
Yeah, and right now, I'll tell you, it's still going to get very energetic up in the front. And for the record, I apologize. I said a couple guys up in the front came down to pit. That was guys trying to catch the pace car when that all had happened. So we actually still have drivers on the racetrack to this point that still have not pitted, which again, we still get to 27 laps, and we've seen a bunch of cautions. I'm still very surprised by the guys that are still on the racetrack. But at the end of the day, no matter what strategy you play right now, seems like you're playing to the tune of the cautions. But if there's one person, in my opinion, I want to be on the racetrack, and you're looking at him right now, it's Clint Cox, because it seems like to this point, until you've lost help behind you with someone shifting to the middle line, in the case we saw Austin Green do prior to the caution before this, it seems like the leader on the bottom has been able to control this race because the outside lane just has not been able to fully develop to become the strong lane quite yet.
Yeah, and I found that kind of surprising because the trucks, I think more so than some of the other cars that come to Talladega, do a very good job of running 2, sometimes even 3 wide, and we just can't seem to get that here. The person on the bottom has been able to really take control, and for the most part, we've seen Clint up towards the front very few times have we seen him drop further back than like 3rd, maybe even 4th place. Yeah, he's had to make a couple charges here and there, but we've seen him at the front quite frequently.
Yeah, and you want to talk about drivers as well moving through the field. How about Jesus Vasquez? He was in the first incident. I don't think he took a fast repair, but turned around and got a couple damage repairs, if I'm not mistaken. Came back out on the racetrack, and he's currently up 17 positions since the drop of the green flag in the 7th position. Michael Ball, he's up 12 spots in the 13th. And Jason Blatz, he's in the 15th spot, currently up 16 positions. He's not the only big net gainer. Kevin Haleman started all the way back in 38th. He's currently running 22nd. And the driver I'm still very surprised about, and I'm not saying I exactly have heavy expectations. I'm sure he's sitting in the back for a reason, but we also saw him get a little bit of calamity at some point in this race. TJ Majors sits back in the 26th position. So I'm eager to see at least what TJ does, because remember I said on the top of the broadcast, he was one of those drivers I expected to be there when it matters. But that's the beauty of Talladega. It's unpredictable. You have some drivers that right now, in my opinion, could be sitting in that 20th to 30th spot. Even a couple guys a lap down, like Cole Larson, for example, I mentioned was very, very interesting in practice and what he was working on to try to focus on pushing and finding momentum. Anybody still has a chance at this race, in my opinion, if you're under 5 laps down.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen I believe 5 cautions here at this point. And I mean, all it takes is 1, you get that lap back. So Cole Larson, as long as he keeps his truck clean, doesn't get involved in anything, he can find himself back on the lead lap within, who knows, 10 laps, 15 laps. Doesn't matter. As long as he manages to get that lap back, he'll be good. He'll be able to put himself in a position to try and work his way through the field and get to that front. But, I mean, we'll see. I mean, now several guys have been involved, used maybe that 1 fast repair. I wonder if we start to see some more conservative driving from some of these guys who have maybe been a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, I would think that the fast repairs are getting thin for some, and you would start seeing a little bit more conservative driving. But to this point, it's been fun, it's been hard and aggressive. And again, cautions happen here at Talladega, but the racing is what matters the most here as we're racing for a cause. And it's going to be a lot of fun, needless to say, calling the remainder of this race. As when we head to the line, it should be 46 laps to go as green flag is out, and a good jump for the 3s. They're 3 wide for second as the Team 606 Chevy for the moment is clear, but now he's side by side as here comes Kobos trying to make it work. As now he'll fade out of line in the 3rd line, and it's single file on the bottom through the first 4 or 5 trucks.
Yeah, Kobos not having any help on that outside. Maybe the 007 is going to let him in. Looks like he will. So now that outside line, can they get something formed? They've got about 4 or 5 trucks out there. You've got a few looking to maybe join them. Doesn't look like they're going to have that. As that outside line finally starts to gain some steam, you can see it's a long line back, but they've got to get them bunched up here a little bit to really gain some momentum and try and maximize that airflow.
And I'm interesting, you see a couple cars kind of swaying out, trying to quote-unquote get cool air, but now you see the 65 Cobos trying to get to the bumper. I think without pushing, you've got to get as close as you can, try to side draft as tight as you can, and that's how you're going to build the most momentum as they head off across the start-finish line. It'll be 45 laps to go, and here we go, some lane switching, as it looks like now for the moment, Prue was starting to make a charge, or rather, no, starting to make a charge. And here we go off turn 2 at least. I apologize, it is Prue on that high side trying to work, but I don't think he's going to have the momentum. As all the wrecking further onto the back.
It looks like that should bring out the caution, as it did happen on track. They didn't get to the bottom. And unfortunate, because at the front, we finally started to get it figured out with the 2 lanes. We had some really solid racing. It looked like the top line, maybe with the next lap, was going to be able to get it done, but unfortunate to see what happened there. And that is going to be Dustin Adams in the 10, the Chevy Silverado. We'll see what happened to him here coming around turn 2.
What happened in the back of the field here? These guys were a little bit off the lead pack. A couple damaged cars. No, someone blew up. I think somebody blew up further up the head, and you saw the spinning, and Adams just kept on chucking along. And, oh, well, I don't really chalk it up fully as Adams' fault. He just had someone come up across him there, but I don't think that's why the full caution came out. Something happened up in front, rather somebody blew an engine or started to go spinning, and that's why they were slowing down. But needless to say, I'm going to chalk that up as another chain reaction accident right there, Alex.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seemed like. The person blowing up really caused things to be really confusing. Drivers trying to just get back in line and trying to figure out where they need to go, and so it just kind of messy all over, and it just unfortunate situation to find yourself in. You think you're clear, maybe another driver thinks they have a little bit more room, and I mean, we see what happened, and hopefully everybody's able to get the damage repaired, get back out there. I mean, we still have 30 trucks on the lead lap. That is the nice thing, and we only have 2 drivers 1 lap down. You have the 8 of Chris Stamper, and he actually drove off into pit road, so maybe had a black flag to serve or something under that last caution. But then you also have the 33 of Cole Larson, who's still trying to get his laps back.
And this is the interesting part. Here we go. We're going to actually start seeing the first pit stops for many, as both the 41 of Tim No come in, as well as Max Prue, and also Luis Felipe, who comes in for their first pit stops. So everyone now, especially John Cox, who comes in on their first pit stops here in this race. Of course, the 3 of Clint Cox is on his second. It's going to make things interesting because it's still a 1 stopper from here with 43 laps to go, but it gives you at least an opportunity while you're coming down here to maybe think about a splash and go if we see a green flag pit stop later in this race.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to set yourself up to try and either do 1 more stop that would just be a real quick fill, or see if you can just do what some of these guys have been doing, slowly just chipping off the lap counts by coming in under caution. We see the 3 of Clint Cox. Yeah, not sure what's going on here. He's possibly being held. He's going to be dropping to the back, and this is kind of an odd situation to see going on.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd. I'm not sure if maybe he got a passing under yellow penalty, which could be, or maybe he was speeding, but I didn't really see him going too fast into the pits. But needless to say, things are all spread out, and unfortunately for the 3, he'll go to the rear of the field. I don't think he should go a lap down because it takes about 2.5 minutes here. We get around per lap under caution. However, Danny Cochran stays out. He is your leader. Jesus Vasquez second. Nathan Mascroft in third. Jeremy Bjerkeren in fourth. And Simon Sarigas in fifth. However, don't go anywhere, as we're going to take a quick break here on LSRTV. You're watching the Team 606 iRacing Appalachian Flood Relief 75 right here on LSRTV, the home to all things sim racing.
Hey, it's broadcast personality Wesley Outlet up topside at one of the great racetracks of the world, the Caraway Speedway. And I'd like to remind you to join us every Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern with coverage of Finish Line, where we talk to everybody from NASCAR to grassroots, like right here at Caraway Speedway. Carolina's Fox Sports Radio affiliates, iHeartRadio, and on the Community Radio Network at 87.5 FM. And remember, thanks to Live Sim Racing Productions, you can actually see the guest panel, ask their questions, get interactive with us with comments and so much more in our chat box. Finish Line every Wednesday. Join us every week.
When do you plan on putting in that new fence we've been talking about since last summer?
I guess I could start tomorrow.
Protect the ones you love and protect your buried utilities by contacting 811 before you dig, either by phone, the web, or the NC811 app. Know what's below before you dig. Visit nc811.org to learn more.
And we welcome you back to the Team 606 Appalachian Flood Relief 75 here on LSRTV, your home, sim racing. As we head down the back straightaway, looks like we are going to be going green this time by. And Danny Cochran is your leader. He is, I believe, the 10th different leader I want to say in this race. To this point, he has pit twice for last pitting on lap 17, and wow, I'm on the money. How about that? Definitely changes indeed. So a great guess to this point, but Danny Cochran is your leader. He has Jesus Vasquez on his outside with Nathan Mascroft starting in the third position, and Mascroft's been fast. He's been intriguing here. Of course, I know the 31 as well. Real antsy, or say rather the 2, of course, in number sense, but he's the 31 on your screens of Cochran. Should be interesting to see what he does here on this restart. These two, it seems they've worked together throughout the evening here, Alex, and they have a chance to control this race to this point as they head towards the tri-oval and take the slow crouch towards the Geico restart zone. We've seen Calamity on restarts multiple times here tonight. Again, this is a new group all racing together for a good cause. So it's going to take a little bit for these guys to get comfortable, but green flag back out here at Talladega Super Speedway. And Cochran and Mascroft easily clear the 007 of Vasquez as they head towards turn number 1. They're slicing and dicing and fanning out, but it'll be the 007 for the moment of Vasquez that gets down in the line, as it looks like it'll be 4 trucks clear and almost 5 as now they go to 2x2 for the lead. Down off of turn number 2, it'll be Mascroft with the nose. I don't think he's going to be able to clear, though, down the back straightaway.
And that was an interesting move. It looked like they were going to commit to the bottom, and then at the last second coming around turn 2, they decide we're going to form the second line and see if we can get things going where they started, where they left off on that last caution. So now you have 3 trucks there in the middle line, 2 trying to form on the high side, but we are 2x2 for 3 rows. See if we can make it 3x3 here for the front.
Trying to make it 3x3 indeed, but here comes Mascroft to the big push. He'll be clear for the moment. Let's see if he switches lanes. Doesn't seem to be the case, but he should lead the lap this time. They're 3 wide for about the second position, as it looks like at least Roberts is trying to rip the high side up and against the wall as he continues to try to push that third lane. He now loses the help, but we've got 2 trucks still fade, and for the moment, Cochran has the nose. Now it's Mascroft off of turn number 2.
Yeah, you see that top line really fading, only 2 trucks up there, and it's hard to make that top line work here. You've got to have a good line there. You've got to keep it nice and straight, and honestly, the best way to do it is keep those left tires there on those top lines instead of trying to ride the wall. It gets very risky because there's not a lot of space and a lot of room for air, but now you see that top line. They've got 5 in there trying to see if they can get the run off the 4 into the tri-oval.
And they're trying to do what they can to try to build that momentum in the middle line. As now Mascroft losing the lead for a fraction of a second to Cochran, but now he has the momentum. That time by, it'll be the 2 of Cochran lead the lap, and he's going to get turned! Oh, goodness!
Ooh, 65 also.
It looks like we'll stay green for the moment unless an admin throws a caution. Misfortune, that's going to allow Mascroft to the point with Surigas now in second.
Yeah, Kobos also got turned the 65. He's been a very aggressive driver throughout the night, so he's going to end up falling to the back. Not sure how the damage looks for both him and Cochran, but now you see 2x2 up here at the front. Austin Green can't seem to find a way down to that middle line, but Mascroft has a nice solid lead here. He's out in front. He's got the 20 there of Simon Surigas pushing him around to the tri-oval.
Yeah, but right now, the way the lineup looks, the first guy on fresher tires is Tyler Dengler, who wrecked back on lap 27. He pit on 28. He's in the best fuel situation right now. The first driver on the freshest of tires is Austin Green, who currently sits in the 9th position. I'm surprised at least these guys have stayed out and been able to keep track position despite the aggressiveness. But this pack is slowly separated. It's about 18 trucks all within this lead pack, and then there's a long snake further on back of the second pack as they head towards turn 3.
Yeah, it's about the top 15 or so running in this front group, but it is a long gap there. About 5 seconds takes you from 15th to 16th, and from there, it's not even that many trucks, only about 5 or so that are running together. So at this point, they just have to file up, see if they can keep it as straight as they can, and try and catch this front group. As long as this front group runs 2x2, sometimes even 3x3, that's going to be where they gain time, but it's going to be a long way to go.
And it looks like Luis Felipe and also Max Bruce all just got put 1 lap down as Cole Larson will continue to be the first truck 1 lap down here in this race. But they're building that second line, and here we go off turn 2. Let's see if Surigas pops to the high side. Doesn't seem to be the case as they head off off towards turn 3 as they are halfway down the back. Look further on the pack though. That pack slowly but steadily actually fading away from this front group, even though they're 2x2.
Yeah, that's interesting to see, because normally you see these guys running 2x2, it slows them down. You have that side drafting, takes away from that straight line speed. But now you see, it seems like they're trying to be conservative. You have 3x3 towards the back, but then ends up going back to 2x2.
Well, the question is more of, what do you do in regards to this front pack? Because the way it is right now, while yeah, you're separating, wouldn't you rather be single file to try to not bring this other pack into the race as they continue to be 2x2 for the lead as Buchanan now looks for the lead on the outside?
I mean, it's a hard call to make, but we're bumping and moving in the back here. Looks like we're going to stay green as nobody got too far down. The wide backstretch infield helps them out a little bit, but now this front group slowly falling off. It looks like there's about 10 cars now in this front pack.
And they're trying to do what they can in that middle line, but for the moment, at least, it looks like Buchanan is going to fade back a little bit, and the pack is, as you mentioned, Alex, slowly but steadily starting to fade. But I think the big thing here is, even though a lot of these trucks is, we have a spinner further on in the back, I'm not sure if he's going to spin back onto the racing surface, so we'll stay green. Oh, goodness, that looks to be the 43 of Philip Clement that has gone around. Not sure what happened there, but we continue on. It's an 11-car race, actually 10-car race for the lead, as it looks like No has lost touch of the pack.
Yeah, filling out the last of the pack here. It looks like it's going to be J.R. Miller in the 78. You see the 60 on track here. But, I mean, they're starting to think about going to single file. You see a couple guys still trying that high line, but they're not getting that momentum that they were earlier when we had about 7 trucks on that high line.
And they're trying to slowly but steadily build everyone up to the bottom. That's the only downfall. When you have less trucks in the pack, it's a little bit harder to develop energy while you're carrying a lot of speed. It's a little bit harder to get that second line going, but all you need is 3 or 4 trucks, in my opinion. And right now you have 3 trucks up in that middle lane. It's only the fact, though, of how hard are they willing to push, because remember, a lot of these guys are all in the same fuel situation, which, Alex, brings me to the next question, because right now in that top 5, you have guys that haven't pit all the way back to lap number 7. There's about, I want to say, 2 or 3 trucks only in this pack that pit most recently under the last caution. So really, even though you think pitting that last caution was a smart idea, if you're 2 trucks left out and everyone, let's say, has to come down for a green flag pit stop, you're stuck on your own and you're sitting duck. You'll end up falling back to the pack further on behind.
Yeah, it almost seems like the point that we're at, it doesn't seem like anybody's going to be able to go to the end because we'll have to dive in. Being left 2 guys, yeah, 3 works, 4 is great. 2, though, it just doesn't really work. Tandem drafting can be done in the trucks, but you just don't get that same pace that you do if you have that 3rd truck right there to make sure you keep the pusher right on that front guy. I mean, you can see right there on the high line, they're making it work there. You've got the 37 of Michael Ball, and I believe that's the 26 of Rodney Roberts on the high line. And going down the back, so even the front stretch, you have Michael Ball right on that bumper. He is shoving him through the straights.
And Ball's trying to do what he can to develop that momentum, and I would say he's doing a good job pushing as they try to challenge for the 3rd position in the tri-oval. For the moment, it looks like Roberts is going to get clear of Vasquez in that 0007 as they head towards turn number 1. I'll tell you what, now the middle lane's really starting to develop. But the big thing is now they start to go 3 wide. Oh, big push. Almost a turn goes the 37 of Ball, but they keep it straight and they continue on. Goodness, that was almost near calamity again as the pusher was almost getting pushed by another pusher.
Yeah, don't push the pusher. Dangerous spot to be. As you can see, the 37 Michael Ball on the quarter panel almost there of the 26 coming down the backstretch. And now you see, I believe that's the 14 of Francesco Contuno moving up to the high line. And it kind of throws off all of the momentum there. And you see guys having to shift around, and that high line is going to dissipate, now leaving the front 4 to be clear.
Yeah, the front 4 for the moment clear, and I do want to point out as well, now 23 cars left on the lead lap. Christopher Norris, the first truck 1 lap down. Max Preuss was on the lead lap, or stay on the edge of, being the first car 1 lap down. However, he just came down to the pits, and he is now 2 laps down here in this event. So this will be interesting. Now Cole Larson has come down to pit. Matt M. Carroll as well has come down to pit. So a couple of these guys are going to stay out. Maybe we're banking on a caution. Ultimately, right now, having to come down and take some green flag pit stops as you see him trying to work around lappers into turn number 3.
And that creates a little bit of chaos there in the front. You see guys shuffling around all over the place, and that's going to really help the high line. I see the 007 of Jesus Vasquez take the lead, but we are wrecking at the back of this lead pack, and that's going to bring out the caution.
Indeed. Ooh, another hard hit after the caution as it's Tyler Dangler who has gone around yet again. It looks like Vasquez is going to be your leader with the caution out, but let me take a look here at what happens off of turn number 4 as they were getting ready to go towards the tri-oval. And look and see here for Dangler. You see them kind of cycle up towards the wall. You gotta wonder if somebody cleared themselves, or Alex, to what we brought up, a little bit of pushing and shoving off turn 4. And the 19 was a victim for sure. Oh goodness, that's a hellacious hit, needless to say, right there. It just looked like maybe a checkup, and Michael Ball, who almost got turned the lap before, ends up getting turned that time.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was a checkup or maybe not judging how much momentum they had going out of turns 3 into turn 4 and then going on the front stretch. Because you saw, I mean, it's hard. You can get it done. You can do some bump drafting around the turns here at Talladega, but it's really tough. I mean, you have to be super precise, and you have to have that driver know you're going to do it so they're ready to adjust for it. And there, it just obviously, I mean, you get drivers still learning each other's styles as we crossed halfway a little bit ago. It's hard to evaluate when that's going to happen. If you bump somebody, especially in that turn, how to adjust the truck. And we saw it ended up going awry there coming out of turn 4.
Well, here's the big thing right here. I think if you come down and pit, everybody that pits from this point on should be good to go on fuel to the end. So no surprise at all. We're seeing Vasquez and Mascroft and about everyone else in the top 9 make it top 10. Actually, correction, it looks like Darren Hellman stayed out, so he'll be the one driver that stays out, as well as James Seacrest. So only about 2-3 drivers maybe staying out, but everybody else coming down to hit pit road under this caution right here. We'll see who wins the battle out of the pits, but I believe, at least for the moment, Mascroft looked like he had a good jump. Here comes the 29. And the winner out of pit road is going to be Jason Gordon. You have J.R. Miller comes out second. Katsukno will come out in third and take the 5th position. Tim No beats out Clint Cox, and then Nathan Mascraft falls all the way back out to 8th. So a mix of 4 and 2 tires and a couple cases of splashes and go here, Alex. I think not taking tires is absolutely okay. Just got to wonder how much does track position mean at this point in the race. While I know the laps are winding down, you'd have to imagine there's still going to be a plenty more amount of cautions here left to go.
Oh, yeah, I mean, as we get down closer to the checkered, you're going to see guys get more and more desperate. And the one thing that has kind of shown to be really important is track position when it comes to these wrecks. If you're further out in front, you usually don't have any trouble. We've seen a couple guys get caught up in incidents just because they're further back or get slowed down because of these incidents. In that last wreck, or not last wreck, but the couple drivers that spun off, Kobos and Cochran, down going into turn number 1, it separated the field into 3 different groups. You saw a group that was like 11th to 15th or so by themselves, and then you saw the group that was 16th on back running in their own group. And it's just a matter of, if you're running back in 25th, just kind of mind your own business. If you get caught waiting or trying to avoid the wreck, it's going to pull you way back. And you saw they resulted in being 10, 15 seconds behind the leader, some of them even getting lapped.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it right now, Alex. It looks like we had a lot of fuel only and 2 tires taken up for the battle, at least through the pits. It looks like actually Jeremy Buchanan was the first driver that took 4 tires, and he Myers back in the 10th position, which is interesting because to me, at this point in the race, knowing that there's really nothing to gain at this point, I'd probably want to take 4 fresh good years and say, hey, I know at this point as the laps continue to wind down, now's the time to start getting the track position, that I probably wouldn't pit from this point on, unless, of course, you reckon you need to come down and utilize one of those fast repairs. But I also want to point out, I mean, even with that caution there, we have 21 trucks on the lead lap, so I just don't exactly see an emphasis of really getting that track position to this point with a lot left in this race.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call. I mean, 4 tires, the biggest advantage you have with it is it's going to help you, if there is a wreck, to be able to stop and avoid getting hit from it if it's right in front of you, and you get more traction out of the tires because there's more life to them. I mean, as we get ready to go green, there's a couple drivers that I just want to point out real quick. We have Clint Cox. He's back in 7th place. We have Donahue. He is, let me see if I can find him here. He's back in 20th. Chris Stamper, he's had a little bit of misfortune. He's back in 15th. And then I believe that's all 3 of them. Yeah, so all 3 of those guys I just mentioned, they're actually all members of the Breathitt County community who we are raising the money for here tonight. So they're all directly affected by this. They've been active members of the community and helping with rescue, or in Chris Stamper's case, he's actually a teacher in the county and has heading this whole fundraiser for Team 606. So it's really cool to see some of these members of the community get in and involved in this race and having a little fun with this too.
Well, indeed, it is huge. And again, it's so big here in iRacing to not just have an opportunity to be a family, but when you get opportunities like this to unite, you know, it's something special. And again, it's not all about the race. The race is for your entertainment, of course, here at home and for these drivers, but it's about fighting for a bigger cause. And the fact here tonight that we're able to do something for, again, an entire, and I mean this in literal terms, an entire area and county devastated because of flooding. As somebody that lives in the upper northeast coast, you may not exactly understand that because you don't get to see it too often up here where I'm from in the New York area. But down south, it is unfortunately just so common. And you just hope that things can change one day in regards to, you know, the constant flooding we've seen. But it's important that these individuals get the support they need, because it's so hard, and I couldn't imagine just how devastating it has to be as an individual, you know, to have to deal with these circumstances on a regular basis. And I really do applaud every single one of those drivers that are not just a part of that cause here tonight, but also that have to deal with it, because it shows the courage and just how much it means to them to try to support their own community and go out and support. And again, all this money here tonight, it's going out to the youth or people within the community to help find them housing, help find them clothing, food, any aspect of shelter or need these people need. It's all going towards resources. So again, any amount matters towards donations. And I do want to thank all you guys throughout the broadcast. We've seen multiple donations, and again, our goal is to get the 500. We're almost 3/4 of the way there. So if you have interest in donating, click on the info tab in the broadcast screen, and you'll be able to find it in the description here of the video. Of course, here on LSRTV, down below, you'll see a link to the GoFundMe. And again, if you don't have money, it's okay. I understand that everyone has their own personal situations. But if you have the money to donate, we really would appreciate it, because it really can help a lot of families in need here this evening. But we get ready to go green this time by. It'll be 26 laps to go at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. And now we've seen final pit stops, and now the show is getting ready to hit the road and slowly count down for what is going to be a very, very intriguing final 26 laps. Question is, will we see overtime, Alex? Based upon this race, you have to feel like it's coming.
Oh yeah, so far it definitely seems that's the way we're headed. I mean, we've run, I think most was 10, maybe 15 laps of green flag racing. There was a good stint there for a while, but I mean, it's a question of how aggressive these drivers want to be. How hard do they want to push? How hard do they want to try and gain track position, just kind of peck off drivers as they go? We've seen some drivers try and call themselves clear, not quite clear, and end up causing massive wrecks. And now we're getting to the point, drivers starting to run out of fast repairs, so they're going to have to end up calling it quits.
Indeed, a lot of drivers running out of fast repairs. A lot of guys, too, multiple laps down. Looks like maybe only 27 cars still in the mix of this, as green flag is back out. And it looks like the 24 of Hellman is easily going to be clear. He has Miller as well further on behind. And then it's 2 wide, make it 3 wide for the 4th position as they head through turns 1 and 2.
And you can see the 3 there. Clinton Cox dropping back ever so slightly. Jason Gordon trying to pick a line, but he's kind of right in the middle of the top lane and the middle lane. So it's allowing the bottom to stay clear, but they end up making some contact, having to shuffle around down to the apron. They're going to have to find a way back onto the racing surface here before they head into turn 3. Otherwise, we will have some calamity.
And here comes Coutugno trying to lead that high side for the lead. He has Gordon on the inside, and here we go, 3 wide for the lead. Cox trying to flood the middle. He'll end up getting clear and put Cox out to the point as they head towards the tri-oval.
We see Danny Cochran get Cox out to the front. He's got Cody Reed behind him, trying to see if he can push Danny up to the front, come to the line. And it looks like Clint Cox is going to lead that lap. Or actually, no, Francesco Coutinho looks like he got the call for that one. We are 3 by 3, about 4 or 5 rows deep here, racing with 25 to go as we come across the backstretch. Danny Cochran coming to the back, should be able to get clear if he wants to go to the bottom.
And Danny Cochran was real strong at the start of this race, being up towards the front. He's one of the drivers that can really take a push in this race as they head towards turn 3. It looks like Coutugno leading on the high side, but here comes Cochran with a little bit of momentum. He'll try to be door-to-door as they head off to turn number 4.
Tyler Dangler again sideways. That is so unfortunate. He's going to take to the air. He spins about 5 times, and it is chaos coming out of turn 4. And that is... We'll see who all is involved. I believe that is the 4 of John Cox we see down in the apron. One of the many drivers involved in this wreck.
Of course, we have Clinton John in this race, and goodness, I think we have another candidate on the mission here of iRacing to Mars, and I believe it was John Cox that went flying. If not, then it may have been Tyler Dangler again who got turned, and here we go. Oh, yeah, that's Dangler. And that thing were flying.
Yeah, he
So-
flipped a couple times there.
Yeah, he somersaulted. The question is, did he get stuck in a catch fence?
Yeah, I don't see him come down.
No,
Yeah, I think he was.
hit the wall.
I don't
Here
know.
again. Different angle.
We'll have to see how many spins and flips he did. It looked like maybe he had about 7 spins and maybe 2 flips before all was said and done. But we're on board here with Tyler Dangler. We'll see from his perspective what happened.
I have never seen trucks flip this hard ever here at Talladega. Sometimes iRacing wrecks get entertaining as here we go, we see him spin, and here's the loop-de-loop and pull, and there's one flip. No, he didn't get the opportunity to do 2, and you're right, he was stuck in a fence. That front tire definitely stuck in a fence, and you know what? You know what I want to say? That is very Clinton Poyer-esque. If you remember during the pandemic where he got stuck in a catch fence after getting wrecked from the lead in the entry of turn number 3. Just kind of hanging out there. A little bit sad he may have towed, because I think it would have been entertaining just see him sit there to watch the race.
Now, my question is, I mean, sitting up there on the fence, would that bring out a caution when we go green? Because he technically looked like the back of the truck was sitting on the racing surface.
You know, with that point, yeah, it probably would. But honestly, I've seen trucks stuck in the fence not activate a caution before, especially if they're straight on. So I think that is a good point. But, you know, to be honest, I think there's a couple guys that got stuck in the fence earlier that I think you would have, and I believe it was Donald Powers, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first one that went on the mission to Mars that landed in the fence. I think had he stayed there, he most certainly would have not at least triggered a caution, but I want to see somebody do it one race at least. And for the record now, we're at 2, 3 strikes you're quote-unquote out. I know this isn't baseball, but I feel like we're not done seeing cars landing in the catch fence. We've seen a lot of accidents out of turn 4 here tonight.
Yeah, we've had, and the big thing, it seems like people being a little too aggressive with the momentum coming around turns 3 and 4, and it's hard. I mean, it's hard to push around the turns, especially with these trucks. I mean, they're lightweight in the back end, a little bit of push there, and you create that unbalance, and you see these trucks spin very, very easily, even going into the turns. I mean, we saw earlier the 65 of Kobos, the 31 of Dangler. They got turned trying to enter turn 1, and thankfully it didn't bring out a caution, but it put them further back. But one thing I do want to point out here, thank you so much. We just got 2 big donations for $50 each from Karen Angel and JD Hex. So really appreciate it, guys. Oh, actually, we had a $10 donation as well from Tyler Hayes. So thank you guys so much. And that actually puts us over the $400 mark. So now less than $100 to go to hit that $500 goal. We're sitting at $416. So again, any amount matters here, even if it's just $1. If you guys have anything you can and are willing to give, we would really appreciate it, because again, all the support goes to help out the youth and families down in the Appalachia area that were affected in eastern Kentucky with those massive floods.
And I also do want to point out as well something that was mentioned in the chat by Nita Mascroft. And you know what? It's not just, you know, western Kentucky, you know, needing a lot of assistance, you know, from the devastation disasters, but it's the fact of, and I always think about my moments here in New York. I always think about, you know, with everything that happened during Hurricane Sandy, and you think about everything that we did as a community to, you know, turn around and rebuild a community together. When a whole state can unite and rely on each other and a whole community, that shows the spectacularness of not just human beings, but also just how spectacular and powerful we can be as a group to accomplish something. And I'm still so proud to not just be on this broadcast, but to see so many people not just donating, you know, involving, even if you can't donate, just talking about the cause. To me, that means so much, because it shows just how much we are united as a people and a nation, and the fact that we all can do a good deed here today for charity and for everything here for these people means so much. And I'm sure everyone in this race that, Alex, you mentioned a caution prior, that are in this community, especially that are donating their time just to help out, you know, their area in western Kentucky. This means so much to them as well, because they've been the ones as well here from day one trying to push this cause to try to help out in the Appalachian area.
Yeah, I mean, we can see how it affects everybody down there from a national point of view and how big the devastation is. But these guys, those three of Donahue, Stamper, and Clint Cox that we talked about earlier, they've been hands-on directly affected by it. And I'm sure once they come out of the race, if they aren't getting updates from people outside of the race or have another monitor up watching and seeing the donations come in, I'm sure they're going to be ecstatic to see everybody not only that tuned into the race just to see and even just support the cause here by watching the race, but also those that have donated. And again, we thank you all so much for those that have been willing to give some money to the cause. And again, thank you for tuning in, because that also helps to raise awareness and help maybe get that link out and get some more people to donate as well.
Well, how about we try to get about $85 more in throughout the remainder of these final 22 laps? We have $416 of the $500 goal donated already here this evening. So again, I want to thank everybody throughout the forgiven donations. It's been remarkable, but now we get ready to go green. It'll be 21 laps to go. And here we go. Clint Cox, a good little jump. He's going to have about a 2-car length gap heading to turn number 1. I don't know. He could be in a dangerous spot as Cochran now is going to get the run through turns 1.
Yeah, and Cochran's got a good gap, about a half truck length, so he could opt to go to the high line, and we're going to see that as he goes to the high side. Is he going to have a pusher? He's going to have the 25 Cody Reed, but he gets bumped out of the way, and we see a push there, and that's going to be, I believe that's the 39 of Buchanan gets moved down to the apron. Now we're 3 wide, 2 backs, actually 3 lanes back here now, as we have a massive push here for the lead, and it looks like the 25 of Cody Reed comes out ahead through turn 3.
Indeed, Cody Reed to the lead, and I do want to correct you, Alex. I believe that was rather the 29 that got moved out of the way of Gordon. But needless to say, everyone's trying to mix things around as Reed is for the moment holding on, but now Cochran trying to challenge on the high side. They're 2x2 heading to turn 1. Again, I really think Cochran has done such a good job here tonight of just taking a push, building that momentum, and he's doing a good job side drafting coming off turn 2 as they get close to the doors. He should have the run down the back straight away.
But will he get ahead through the backstretch, and can they carry momentum on that high line? You see a couple drivers trying to push it 3 wide, and honestly, in my opinion, I think it's too early to try and force that. If you're that high line, try and get yourselves further out, trying to see if you can gain momentum. Now you're just going to put these 2 drivers of Cochran and Buchanan into the sucker. Oh, sorry, yeah, that is Buchanan, I believe. Into the sucker, and they're just going to drop back, and they're going to fall further back, maybe getting a little bit support here from the 14.
Well, here comes Tim No for the first time as he tries to challenge on the high side. He, for the moment, is getting a little bit of help as he moves up to second. Now put him on the lead in the 3rd lane. They're 3x3 for the lead, now 2x2. And No's going to go top to middle as he takes the lead off of turn 2. But now here comes Reed back to the point down the back straightaway.
Reed's going to have that lead. Tim Knows not going to quite get the push that he wanted. That middle line just can't seem to get organized. You see them bobbing and weaving all over the place. Finally get it nice and straight heading into turn 3. Can they carry that momentum through turns 3 and 4 to try and get Tim No ahead here onto the front stretch?
Tim No trying to build that momentum. Cody Reed hasn't spent much time in the front today, but he's doing a good job trying to maintain that bottom line. But here comes Cochran trying to give him a little bit of a push, and now Tim No has the nose going in the tri-oval. They're 2x2, door to door. No, just barely has the nose ahead as we take 18 laps to go.
A great push from Cochran onto the front stretch through the tri-oval gets Tim No the lead. Now the question becomes, Tim No's going to have the run off of turn 2. Is he going to try and opt to go to the bottom line with Cody Reed, or is he going to hang on the high line? Because that middle line seems to finally have found its stride as long as they decide to stay organized. If you have guys starting to dive off to that high line, it's going to fall apart. You're going to see them dip back about 2 to 3 lanes, and then it's going to be chaos trying to see if they can get that organized again.
Indeed, it's been organized, but the question is, when will the 3rd line come again? All you need is 2 or 3 trucks to really start getting that line going. As No heads out of turn 4, it's door to door. It's going to put Reed back to the point, but aggressive side draft. No's going to again get the nose as they head towards the tri-oval, and we'll see what happens when they come to the line. But it looks like No should just barely edge out Reed as they take 17 to go now.
Yes, we keep hitting a groove. You see Cody Reed jumps ahead here through turns 1 and 2, but then that momentum coming out of the turns, that extra speed from the top line, manages to get no ahead. He's been able to lead the past couple laps because he gets that extra run, has that little bit of extra track coming around the turns, and gets a lot of speed running out. But again, that top line, how much longer are we going to see these guys running in that middle lane? We'll see a couple guys starting to take a peek. One of them, the 20 of Simon Srigas. He keeps taking a peek to the high line, going to maybe go to the third lane, but he stays in the middle lane for now.
Well, I think he saw Cochran pushing in the corner as No is handling a good little push as they head through turns number 4 into the tri-oval now, as No again barely having the nose, but here comes Reed this time of the momentum. He should just barely have the line by 3/1000ths of a second as they head back to turn 1.
That was the tiniest lead that I think I've ever seen come across the line there. But yeah, Cody Reed gets the lead, and it's again, you can see that top line starting to get a little disoriented. You have guys thinking about that high line. Srigas again, he keeps going away from Cochran in the back and decides to try and look for that high line option coming out of the turns. And if he's going to try and start that third line, that's the best spot to start it, is coming out of one of these turns.
Indeed, it's the best spot to start it. You see the lap summary, 20 lead changes, and it's about to be 21 potentially, as now Reed is clear, but he opts to stay on the bottom, as now here we go again. They keep on flip-flopping. No has the nose through the tri-oval. Let's see who'll get it to the line. It should be No, as this time he has the nose ahead, but you see them starting to creep around just a little bit. I think that third lane may be a lap or two away from developing.
I would not be surprised if we see Srigas go for it here one of these times coming out of turn 2. You see he keeps driving back a little bit further. He's leaving about a quarter truck space here behind Dangler, but that gives him enough room that once he gets onto like the backstretch, he can dive to that outside, and if he's got a truck or two to help him, be able to really gain some momentum heading into turn 3, and that's all it's going to take. As you see No and Dangler surprisingly moving to the bottom. They both get clear. What a move there, and that's going to give him a lot of clearance.
Yeah, that's going to give him a lot of clearance for the moment, as now No and Cochran will try to battle it out up in front. And for the moment now, it's Srigas trying to lead the middle side. They're shaking and baking a little bit towards the middle of the tri-oval, and they keep it on straight as they head back towards turn number 1. 14 laps to go, and now Srigas will clear the bottom of turn 1.
We have another new race leader. Srigas jumps down to the bottom, but now take a look on the outside. Chris Stamper in the 8th. He's been up in the front a couple times and now is way up here running for second place, trying to see if he can push for the lead. But look out at the wall. You see 2 trucks up there starting to run that high line. It's the 10 and the 4 of Dustin Adams and John Cox. Will they get some help? As you see about 3 more trucks try to go to that outside, and now it's a lot of chaos here in the middle pack.
Danny Cochran put in the sucker hole, but now he's going to get some help in the middle line. The question is, will it be enough? And they head off turn 4. Now Cochran trying to turn around and push his way back to the front, as he, is doing such a good job. They continue to slice and dice. This time Stamper will lead the lap, but here comes Mascroft to the outside for the lead.
So he's going to push to the outside, trying to see if he can get the move done around 1 and 2. He's going to dip back a little bit, but how much push is he going to have through the back stretch? But look out, that high line has 5 trucks out there now. If they can tighten it up, that's going to be dangerous, as we're going to be running 3 wide, about 5 rows deep. But they're getting pretty tight here. John Cox trying to tighten it up, making 4 trucks real close. And now we've got some nice, solid 3-lane racing. Mascroft drops back 1 in the roll. That's going to be John Cox in the 4. Manages to keep it out of trouble. He's going to drop back, hopefully not going to lose this pack.
In the lane for the moment, at least, is going to continue to redevelop as we continue to stay green. But I'm going to say, no surprise, the 14 of Katsugno was leading that lane, and he was going to try to do whatever he could to get himself to the point. But instead, they'll reset. It'll be 12 laps to go, and Stamper again trying to lead, as now No at least edges out for second. But Mascroft trying to do what he can off the exit of turn 2. But it looks like maybe a little bit of overheating for his help with Miller behind as they head down the back straightaway.
Yeah, you see now J.R. Miller trying to put Mascroft, but again, yeah, you see guys trying to dive out, see if they can get some clean air, and so trying to cool off that engine a little bit. Mascroft, again, you see him diving about a half lane up or so away from Mascroft, and that unfortunately slows down the top line, because now you see Mascroft, he's now sitting back racing for 3rd place when you've seen that front line. several occasions racing for the lead as we come around the tri-oval.
Well, they're trying to stay 2x2, 11 laps to go here at Talladega. And for the moment, Chris Stamper is leading. But here comes Mascroft. Again, he's going to have a big run, and he should have the momentum as they head down the back. He'll come down side draft once. They're getting very tight pitching, but here comes Mascroft with a big run. Not quite sure if he's going to get to the door, though, as they head towards turn 3.
It looks like he might be able to get side by side, but that high line, you can take a peek. The 10, again, Dustin Adams is trying everything to get this high line going. He's a little loose up there. Danny Cochran may be thinking about going up there. No, decides to stay down in the middle line. So still, we see drivers getting maybe a quick little look, but nobody committing here in the front 5 or 6 cars.
Well, the thing for Nathan Mascroft right now is, can you trust everyone around you to help you? As Mascroft comes to the line, he'll lead the lap that time. It'll be 10 laps to go as they head towards turn number 1. As they're side drafting hard and slicing and dicing as it's now 3 wide for about 7th.
Yeah, you see Mascroft bringing that truck really, really low down, almost making contact with guys on the bottom line. That high line doesn't look like it's going to develop to anything. Maybe Dustin Adams into the wall. So now you see it's just a matter of, it's almost like a drag race as we come around. Who can be able to get that run? It seems like coming out of turn 4, that high line actually has the advantage. And surprisingly enough, as they come around the tri-oval, they gain a lot of steam.
Well, we're seeing a lot of steam and we're seeing a lot of hard pushing, but the question is, at some point, will we see the boundaries get explored too far and potentially see calamity? Again, it's a factor we see here time and time again at Talladega Super Speedway. For the moment, Stamper will lead that lap as he will cross the line for 9 laps to go, but here goes Sarigas. He'll go to the middle lane through turns 1 and 2, and he'll try to challenge for the point as they get ready.
We've seen Sarigas be a really good driver to get pushed. He's been able to get to the front on several occasions. We'll see if he's going to be able to get that done here, though. And again, you see this second lane just kind of bobbing and weaving through the turns, again, trying to see if they can pull off those trucks. But you see from the back, they're trying to get the second line going. But with only 2 trucks, it's not really going to get it done. You need at least 1 more, and it's got to be tight if you're really going to gain some momentum up there.
Well, and when will you see the lane shift? I think at some point you're going to see his, Sarigas hits the outside wall. He's going to keep it straight, and we stay green. Oh, goodness. It was an errant push from Mascroft and Sarigas. You can tell that truck is incredibly damaged on the right side. He's going to be hoping for a caution as he's going to, lose the pack by a wide margin. But we continue on green, and now the first truck on the high side is Cox. As it looks like now Mascroft will try to push him down the back straightaway.
Well, kudos to these drivers for being able to have the quick reaction to get out of the way. I mean, there was a split second to be able to react to that, but also huge kudos goes out to Sarigas to keeping that truck on the wall, trying to avoid any bigger chaos than it could have been. I mean, we're still 2 wide for 4 lanes deep here as we come around turn number 4.
And Clint Cox, of course, trying to do what he can to try to get to the lead, and he's going to have the help to do it as they head through the tri-oval, coming to 7 laps to go. Cox going to barely edge out Stamper as they cross the line and go back to the lead here for the 3rd time this evening.
Well, now as we close in, 7 laps to go. I mean, take a look here at the 60 of J.R. Miller and the 14 of Francesco Catuno. It's a question of how hard are you willing to get into the guy in front of you? You don't want to push the pusher, but your job further back is to just keep your nose as close to their back end as possible to maximize that speed. When you take a look and know he is right on Stamper's rear end pushing him, but Danny Cochran leaving a little bit of space, and that's going to allow this top line to be able to get a little bit more momentum coming out of turn 4.
And they're trying to get momentum, and of course Cox having Team 606 on his hood, trying to bring home a victory, but he's going to get wide, and here we go, contact! They're going to keep it straight as, oh my goodness, almost calamity as they go through the grass. Oh, there is calamity. There goes the 007, and caution is out as Vasquez goes around, and we may see a 2-lap dash, Alex, when we get ready to go green. It's going to be a shootout.
No, it definitely will. I mean, it was some really good racing there. We had probably, I think, 15 laps or so where it was nice, solid 2x2 racing. That's what we've been waiting for all night long. But we see here in the replay, the 007 is the one who brought out the caution. And so let's see what ended up happening here. From the top lane, Francesco gets a little bit hard of a push on JR Miller. And you see Vasquez comes down into the grass, tries to save, and actually makes contact. I believe that might have been the 25 of Cody Reed that he collected. If yes, it is. And so he ends up bringing it back on track. It was a good save in the grass, but then just a little aggressive trying to get back on track.
And that was Katsugno that ended up turning Miller right there. That ultimately gave too hard of a push into the tri-oval. And we saw the 14 trying to mix it up, try to get that third lane going. I'm thinking maybe, in my head at least, I think Katsugno was thinking about maybe trying to push and then jumping them up to the third line to carry that momentum. But it seemed like a mistake there. But Alex, here we go now. Obviously, we've seen 2-3 wide racing, but when we go green, it should be 2 laps to go in regulation, which means we won't see one of our overtimes yet. Of course, if they wreck when we go green, the caution comes out before they take the white flag, we will see our first green-white checkered. But I don't know what to expect. I mean, we saw 2-3 wide, at least in the front portion of the field. I don't think you can develop 3 wide racing really in these trucks in a matter of 2 laps.
No, it's hard enough to get momentum to get that second lane. I mean, we've seen time and time again, it takes sometimes 2 laps to get that outside lane going. If you get a good enough start, that outside lane can start very quickly. You can have it going 2 wide racing by the backstretch, but 3 wide's a bit of a stretch. You really have to coordinate with the guys behind you. And right now, I mean, with the way these drivers are, I don't know if they are able to get that organization on the top lane. You've had a couple drivers consistently try to get up there, one of them being the 10 of Dustin Adams, another being the 4 of John Cox. But unless you get a solid core of guys up to that top line up against the wall in that third lane, you have to get that going, and they need to be in the middle of the field, and it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen.
Well, the one thing I could tell you for sure, the one driver I'd be looking out for on this restart, he's starting down in the 3rd position, and that's Danny Cochran. These 2 drivers in front of Cochran both took fuel only under their last pit stops, which I know you're thinking, well, it's super speedways, they're wide open, tires don't matter. But when you have the fresh tires and you have the advantage, Alex, you can afford to slice and dice a little bit. And we've seen Cochran aggressive all night long. This could be his opportunity to get to the point if maybe he can push out Stamper going off turn 2 and then move to the middle line to try to turn around.
Yeah, he's been very aggressive throughout the race. We've seen him change lines very quickly. So we'll see if he's going to be able to get that last push. And speaking of last pushes, we just with a couple laps here to go, and we'll have essentially 3 chances at a green-white checkered as how it's looking to shape up. We do have our last push here, trying to hit 500. We'd love to hit 500 by the end of the race. Again, make sure you go down to the description if you have some money to give to the cause here for the victims down in the Appalachia area from the flooding from weeks ago. Please be willing to please help give if you can. I mean, again, any amount helps, even $1, just small amounts will help us get us closer and closer to that goal of 500.
Indeed, and we get ready, of course, to go green next time by. And folks, for those sitting here watching, we appreciate you, of course, for watching this stream from start to finish. But I want to hear from you. Who do you think will win this race here? Or do you think we'll see another overtime, or say an overtime? Of course, we're not in overtime quite yet. And if so, who do you still have winning then? Because I personally think when we go green here with 2 laps to go, I don't know if we'll see another caution. I think these guys are going to race it hard, but I definitely would not be surprised if we see a green-white checkered here this evening with how aggressive these plate races tend to get. And I believe Benny the Pace Truck driver will turn off the lights this time by. But Alex, who are you looking at maybe here on this final restart potentially?
See, that's a tough question. I mean, there's several really strong drivers that we've seen kind of pop up to the front throughout the race. I think we're going to see another caution come out before we go around to take the white, because we're going to go green with 2 to go. So it'll essentially be a green-white checkered. But, I mean, taking a look here at the top 5, I think Danny Cochran's a very, very strong plate race driver, but he's also very good at these green-white checkers on these tracks. But another one we've seen be very, very strong throughout these short runs is Clint Cox. He's found his way up to the front almost every single restart. He manages to find his way up to the front of the line within the first couple laps every single time. So I want to put my money on Danny Cochran, but I think I might have to go with Clint Cox. We'll just have to see how aggressive that outside line goes, I think is the big question.
You know, I have to see how aggressive, but one driver I want to point out, of course, he's your leader of Chris Stamper. He's, you know, been kind of quiet all day long. He found himself in the lead, you know, right around that 18 lap to go mark, and he's just been steady as a rock right up there trying to battle for that lead. I think Stamper is definitely going to be the one to watch here on this start. Of course, I mentioned Danny Cochran. Would not be surprised if he gets aggressive to try to force the middle line. But I think Chris Stamper really has a nice, steady piece. And listen, it all comes down to the wire here. You're racing for $100 for the win. Worst case scenario, you finish third, you get $25. Or you bank to being on one of those lead lap cars to get a random prize. And I know the prize money doesn't mean everything to all these drivers here, but the fact of the matter is listen, those $100, it's a big difference. I think you're going to see him try to be aggressive on this start to try to protect that lead, especially again, I mean, you see the 606, Team 606 iRacing on his back bumper. Be a huge win for them, of course, if one of their own trucks can walk away victorious here this evening.
Yeah, that'd be phenomenal. I mean, great for them if they can. You can see Clint Cox there in the 3, another one of those Team 606 drivers. So you know they're going to be pushing hard trying to win one for the home crowd. So we'll see how it goes, though, on the restart. How aggressive is that top line going to be? How defensive is Chris Stamper going to be? And will we see the white flag this time around?
Oh, we shall find out as Benny the Pace Truck driver is in the pits and we head to the Geico restart zone. It'll be 2 laps to decide a winner here at Talladega. His green flag is out for Chris Stamper, and here comes Cochran trying to get to the bumper as it looks like they'll clear heading towards turn number 1.
And it looks like Stamper's at least going to clear by that outside line, gets a great run. You see the 4 and the 3, massive momentum here as they come up 41 and Tim No, and Danny Cochran just way up to the top line. He's going to fall way off pace, and he's going to try and see if he can fall back into that middle line. But Tim No, massive run. We have a wreck down off into the apron. We're going to stay green unless they drift on track. Coming around 3 and 4, we're going to try and take the white.
Indeed, we'll try to take the white, but here you go. Cars below the apron, that doesn't matter. Only if a wreck happens, we will see overtime. It's Tim No to the lead. Stamper trying to do what he can to push him out. And you have Cox as they're wrecking further on behind. No caution yet. Now they're flipping and still waiting for it to come out. Don't see it yet.
There
and now
it is.
So there is overtime here at the virtual Talladega Superspeedway.
So it looks like Clint Cox is going to be your race leader in the 3. I'm not sure if it's Michael Ball and then Tim No and Danny Cochran or how that shaped up, because the 3 of them were pretty much side by side, 3 wide coming around the tri-oval. So we'll see how iRacing sorts them out there. And further back here is where chaos happened. I mean, you had a car rejoining on the track heading into turn number 3. And so you had cars having to shuffle around. You saw a couple loose. And we see somebody maybe clipping the apron coming up into Cody Reed. And oh my goodness, massive hit. That looked like on the race Sunday at Indy Road, where Kyle Larson just railroaded someone into turn 1.
Yeah, well, I would say that's also a fact of the matter, and this isn't by any means bashing, but I think that's making sure, hey, if I'm wrecking, I have a faster pair left, let's make sure the caution comes out so I get another chance at this thing. And ultimately, I think that's what you saw a little bit of right there. Now, granted, the caution was going to come out, but it's more of, A, a mix of trying to get out of the way, but B, you know that caution needs to come out to get another chance. And we saw those guys, I don't want to say intentionally pile in because that's not the case, but we saw them basically not lift off the brakes because, you know, you're coming to the end here and every position matters. But now we're going to see overtime, Alex, and I want to point this out. Of course, we saw Tim No go to the lead, Clint Cox second, Danny Cochran third. But we've seen Michael Ball, despite everything that happened. Remember, he got turned about, I believe it was 3 cautions ago. He's inside the top 5. Chris Stamper only fell back to 4th. You have Nathan Mascroft back into the 6th position. Francesco Cotugno, we saw him wreck 2 cautions prior. He's in 7th. And how about Jeremy Buchanan? He's in 8th. And oh, by the way, Jesus Vasquez, that brought out the caution prior to this, he's back up to 9th. And John Cox, who we also saw wrecking 3 cautions seconds further on back. He's back in the top 10 with J.R. Miller, who wrecked along with him. I still think as you have 14 cars on the racetrack, Carroll, Reed, and Haleman all just hit the pits. Darren Haleman, that is. You have Kevin Haleman at least still on the racetrack. There's 18 trucks left on the lead lap, and if I'm being honest, I could see anyone still 12th on back having a chance on this thing if they can get that third line going.
Yeah, I mean, we saw drivers trying to get that third line going coming around turn 3, but the problem was, I mean, we had some chaos coming around the backstretch, and if we have something like that happen again, where you see maybe somebody coming out of 2, they wash up the track, or you see somebody coming out of 2 or somewhere on the backstretch, just a bump goes a little awry, somebody drops down to the apron, drivers are going to react. You're going to see shuffling around, and that's what's going to cause people from the back not be able to make their way to the front. Honestly, if you're going to try and make your way to the front from the back, you need to have a plan of attack. You need to set yourself up coming out of 2, be able to make that slingshot and try and carry as much momentum onto the backstretch and just hope you're going to have drivers follow you. Because if you're going to try and use that top line, you need help. And we've seen it time and time again. Unless you have 3, 4, maybe even 5 trucks, if you can get 5, it's not going to work. It's going to just you're going to push up and then you're going to fall back.
Indeed, folks, I do want to remind you at least if we have a caution again on this restart this time, there will only be one more attempt after this at a green-white checkered. And, of course, if the caution comes out, at least in terms of the lap of them attempting that second attempt, then the race will be official based upon iRacing scoring when they come back to the line. So I think every driver in this field, needless to say, wants to see that white flag to have a fair opportunity of racing back to the line. But again, I still put it like this. We saw this last restart where Tim No gets it done in the middle line, ends up going to the point. Obviously, I know Danny Cochran, I think he learned he got held, he got basically split 3 and forced up to the high side, and he's going to restart third again on this restart. I really do think what we saw there, Alex, is that this bottom lane is going to be a sitting duck because everyone's going to try to spread out to try to kill that momentum on the bottom, which means I'm not saying we're going to see 3x3, but I think we're going to see a little bit more snaking than what we're used to with this lower car count of guys trying to outbeat the numbers technically in certain lines to carry momentum.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about how you're going to set yourself up to be able to make a push wherever you can on the track. So you might see guys maybe try and lag back a little bit and try and see if they can make a push to the outside. And, I mean, the biggest thing, too, is that where are you going to get the help? The outside line, I wouldn't be surprised if we see go pretty quickly. You have teammates there of Clint Cox and the 8 of Chris Stamper on the outside in 2nd and 4th place. So are they going to try and push ahead of Tim No, another one of their teammates here? I mean, you have Team 606 guys here in the top 4. And so, I mean, are you going to let him down if you're Tim No? And, oh my goodness, Danny Cochran knocks the cone out. What did it do to you, Danny?
Listen, I'm going to be honest. I'm a person that loves to hit the cone, too. It's one of my favorite things to do on iRacing. I don't know what the cone needs to be, but sometimes you got to take out your frustrations, if you get what I mean, Alex. And needless to say, you can tell Danny Cochran's having a little bit of fun, but fun time's over now. We're going green this time by, and it's serious mode. Again, I think Danny Cochran on the restart's going to be the one to watch on what he does, but does he learn from that last restart of, hey, jumping out got me split 3, maybe I'm going to be a little bit more patient this time, we shall see. And the big thing for Tim No is, will he be sitting duck by the time we go to turn 3? It's only a game of ifs at this point, but I promise you folks, it's going to be exciting here for what is going to be a 2-lap dash to the checkered. They head out of turn 4. Benny, the pace truck driver, will begin his slow descent into the pits, and then we'll work our way towards the Geico restart zone. Benny slowly working towards the apron, and now he'll head on into the pits. They work towards the tri-oval, and slowly but steadily, like the little engine that could, these engines will ignite. And we'll go green flag racing for the final 2 laps. Who's going to win this race? You'll find out as Tim No leads them to the green. Green flag back out. 2 laps to go in the Appalachian Flood Relief 75.
Coming across the line, it's going to be a nice big push here. Tim No, Danny Cochran gets right up to his bumper. Is going to shove him through into turn number 1. Not going to get clear of Clint Cox, but now you're going to see Chris Stamper going to try and see if he can jump up. But he's going to have a run. Will he push the outside? And still clear is Tim No in first place. But now Clint Cox going to get a push here from Stamper onto the backstretch. You can see almost everybody committing to that top line. How much of a run are they going to get heading into 3? And will they get clear coming across the front stretch?
And they're trying to do what they can. Here comes Clint Cox in the middle lane. They're 2x2 through 3. And now heading towards turn 4. For the moment, No will have the nose, but I'm not sure if he's going to have the nose by the time we come next time by. Cochran trying to push. Here they go to the tri-oval. It's going to put Cox right to the door as here we go. They come to the line. 1 lap to go to decide this race. No more cautions. Who will win at the end?
And now coming into, oh, we have a wreck there back further. It's the 29. He gets wrecked as well. I think the 25 and a couple others. But it doesn't matter. We are going to race it out to the end here. You got Tim No in the lead. He's got a truck length over Clint Cox. But Danny Cochran pushing really hard. Will he try and make a move himself? As it's going to be a full truck length here. He goes to the high line. But now we have more wrecks further back. That's going to be Mascroft as we head into turn 3.
And again, they're all battling for the top 3 spots. Here we go. Cochran on the high side. At the end of turn 4. 2x2. He gets split 3. They're touching. They're turning. They're wrecking. Cochran on the door. Who's going to win it? It's Cochran. No clock. Cox 3x3. 4-1. They touch. They wreck. Who's going to win at the line? I think it's going to be Cochran. As they cross the stripe, he's going to beat Clint Cox, and J.R. Miller comes home third by .012. What a finish here at Talladega.
Wow, we had 3 separate wrecks there on the final lap, and I just want to, if we have a chance to go back and just see the 37, he sliced through the pack and made contact with no one. That was wild to see that happen. But what a finish there. Danny Cochran using the side draft to his advantage, managed to give himself enough of a push and stayed just barely ahead to take the victory. Great finish for him.
I cannot believe what I've just saw is we're going to go back and see everything from this final lap. Of course, Washington from down the back straightaway. As here we go, they're slicing dice, and you see Cochran split 3. You have 37 going down onto the apron, and now they're heading off turn 4. And at this point right here, Tim No has the lead, but now you see Cochran getting split 3, and I thought this is where Clint Cox would have had it. The 37 goes for a big hard spin, eats the outside wall, and that's of course Michael Ball. And then here's the contact in the tri-oval, and ultimately right here, Danny Cochran turns around and clears, and barely using the apron to edge out Clint Cox for the win. I mean, what a win for Danny Cochran. It doesn't get more exciting than that to know that the whole wreck happened behind him, but who would have expected 4 wide coming through the tri-oval there before calamity happened yet again?
I'm not going to lie, I was rooting for the 4 wide to hold out. That would have been phenomenal to see crossing the line, but unfortunately, some contact was made.
I just, again, I cannot believe the ending right there. What a win for Danny Cochran. And I believe we have him here in the booth. Danny Cochran, do you have a copy? We may not. How about we go to results first, and then we'll talk to our top 3 finishers here. Danny Cochran takes the win. Clint Cox comes home second. J.R. Miller third. Tim No comes home fourth. Chris Stamper, remember he was leading coming to the second and final caution. He comes home fifth. Matt M. Carroll comes home sixth. John Cox seventh. Francesco Consugno, after that hard wreck on the outside, comes home eighth. Michael Ball comes home ninth. Jeremy Buchanan comes home 10th. Alex, how about 11 through 20?
Back in 11th place, we have the 10 of Dustin Adams, and rounding out the lead lap cars is the 35 of Kevin Howman. And then 1 lap down, we have the 5 of Nathan Mascroft, 007 of Jesus Vasquez, 29 of Jason Gordon, 25 of Cody Reed, the 12 of Eddie Donahue, and then the 84 of Jason Blatz rounds out the 1 lap down trucks. Then moving on past that, we have the 24 of Darren Hellman in the 19th, And then the 20 of Simon Strigas is actually in 20th place. And back over to you for 21st through 30th.
Indeed, Edward Fielder comes home 21st. Cole Larson never got back in the lead lap after the first accident. He finishes 22nd, 8 laps down. James Sechrist comes home 23rd. Tyler Dangler, after 3 vicious crashes here this evening, comes home 24th. Christopher Norris comes home 25th. Philip Clement 26th. Max Price comes home 27th. Rodney Roberts comes home 28th. Austin Green, who was leading at one point in this race after a vicious crash comes home 29th. 30th is John Turner. 31st is Luis Felipe de los Cobos. As TJ Majors got into a wreck at some point in this race, he comes home 32nd. Trey Mitz, 33rd. Daniel Staub, he wrecked early, finishing 63 laps down. He comes home 34th. Donald Powers, we saw him get stuck in a catch fence. He comes home 35th. Jacob Zapf comes home 36th. Mason Kramer, 37th. And then you have Mike DeGroot, Mitchell Malone, Dennis Rayo Jr., who all did not turn a lap in this race, as well as John Tarrant, Nick Little, and Dalen Glasgow, which rounds out your 43 truck field here, Alex.
That was phenomenal racing, and it looks like we have our top 3 here in the booth. So, Tim, who do we want to start with?
Well, I think we're going to take a quick break before we start interviews, so we'll have our interviews here in just a moment, so don't go anywhere. You're watching the Team 606 Appalachian Flood Relief 75 right here on LSRTV.
Hey, it's broadcast personality Wesley Outlet up topside at one of the great racetracks of the world, the Caraway Speedway. And I'd like to remind you to join us every Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern with coverage of Finish Line, where we talk to everybody from NASCAR to grassroots, like right here at Caraway Speedway. Carolina's Fox Sports Radio affiliates, iHeartRadio, and on the Community Radio Network at 87.5 FM. And remember, thanks to Live Sim Racing Productions, you can actually see the guest panel, ask their questions, get interactive with us with comments and so much more in our chat box. Finish Line every Wednesday. Join us every week.
When do you plan on putting in that new fence we've been talking about since last summer?
I guess I could start tomorrow.
Protect the ones you love and protect your buried utilities by contacting 811 before you dig, either by phone, the web, or the NC811 app. Know what's below before you dig. Visit nc811.org to learn more.
And we welcome you back to the Appalachian Flood Relief 75 right here on LSRTV. As it was a fantastic ending, but we're going to talk to your top 3 as well as Chris Stamper, as we'll start here with J.R. Miller, your 3rd place finisher here this evening. And JR, it was an interesting final lap. It was filled with calamity on the green-white checkered attempt, but you managed to split it 4 wide and find yourself home with a $25 reward for a 3rd place finish. Talk to me how you're feeling, because it was fun to call there. The chaos to the end. Wasn't sure who was going to end up winning as we came out of turn 4, but you had the run, you had the chance. Unfortunately, came just shy.
Yeah, I didn't know how that race was going to turn out. I had a game plan going in, but got drilled under caution by somebody, and then used that fast repair, had to use another one later on, and then probably since lap 38 I was out of fast repair, so just fingers crossed. Went where they weren't and dodged a couple of wrecks there in that last 2 corners and pushed it into 3rd, so I'm happy.
And obviously you mentioned coming down, utilizing pit stops. You were actually the driver that pit the most tonight. You hit pits at least 9 different times. Hey, talk to me about going through the field. I remember at the midway point, maybe it was the later, about 75% of the way through the race, where we saw you in a very hard accident. How hard was it to kind of gauge and sense the field? I know a lot of you guys aren't exactly used to racing with each other here in this charity event tonight, but it felt like you had a good sense of trying to come through the field and kind of feel out where danger was for the most part.
Yeah, I kind of learned, in these races, there towards the end, you get patient, you get kind of used to being around some of these guys. Yeah, I'd never raced with, I don't think, any of these guys before, but you got kind of comfortable with them. And a few times I seen it getting crazy and I let off because, like I said, I was out of fast repairs, and luckily I was able to avoid everything there at the end. So, that's the way it goes. Sometimes, you're back in the back, and sometimes you get lucky and finish up top.
And one last question. How long were you holding your breath there going through the tri-oval, knowing all the calamity that's happened behind you? Because for me up here, oh my goodness, again, didn't know what to expect. Thought for a good second there you were going to come out victorious, but you're going left, going right, everyone's making contact. It almost makes you a little bit nervous that you're going to end up crashing, or no?
Yeah, like I said, I seen that first one. I actually watched a little bit of the replay, and that first one I just barely missed getting clipped in the rear, and then I kind of stayed in the draft, and then I thought sure I was only going to finish maybe 5th, and then they went 4 wide there for a bit and touched and slowed momentum. I had a run, but I would have drilled, I think it was Tim in the 41. I had to let off a little bit and shot to the outside, had just enough to get by him, so fingers crossed is all it is. Eyes closed.
Need any shout-outs here for your 3rd place here tonight?
No, just thanks to these guys, 606, putting this race on. I'm going to donate my winnings for 3rd place, and then I'm also going to match it with my own donation. God bless all them people having to go through that, and, I'm really praying for everybody.
Indeed. Well, J.R. Miller comes home with a 3rd place result here tonight. And again, donating $25 back to the cause. We thank you for that in your generous donation. We're getting closer and closer to that $500 goal. We were, I believe, $78, I want to say, away. So that'll definitely chunk a good bit back towards the cause from at least the point I last checked. However, we move over with Alex Light, who has our 2nd place finisher of Clint Cox.
Yeah, Clint Cox losing out just barely less than 0.02 of a second. And Clint, take us around the tri-oval. What was going through your head? What kind of emotions were running through you as you came across the line?
I'll tell you what, we had the pedal to the metal, had the wood to the floor, and we was trying to get up there. I knew the 2 had to run there and try to get down and side draft him, maybe give him a little gentleman's touch. Just didn't have enough to edge him out. I didn't want to wreck him or nothing. It didn't turn out how I thought it would, but it was a dang good finish.
Oh, that was a phenomenal finish. I mean, you guys photo finished across the line, just barely losing out on that one. But all night long, you were a front runner. Always seemed to be like you were at the front of each line that just seemed to be surging on that outside. Was your strategy to hang out towards the front throughout the race, maybe be that person to set the pace?
Yeah, the plan was to stay up towards the front most of the race. I had to stop one time to get a headset charger, so I lost a lot of track position, but we made it back up through there, and yeah, we just wanted to be in the front the whole race and try to set the tempo.
You definitely did a very good job of that. I mean, we saw you time and time again. Anytime there was a charge, it seemed like you were right there, first car, maybe second car, making that push. But want to take a step away from the sim here. You're also one of the members of the community that's helping with the fundraising here tonight, and you've seen all of this firsthand. And just what are some things that you can say to the viewers here watching tonight about everything that's been going down in your community?
I can say that 2 years ago, my town of Betaville went completely underwater and pretty much wiped out all businesses. But this time in Breathitt County, Knott County, Perry County, a lot of the eastern Kentucky counties, they pretty much lost everything. They lost businesses, they lost their homes. Legitimately, homes were floating off foundations into the street, and it was very widespread, and people lost everything. There's a lot of people that lost their lives, and it's just a really bad deal.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate to see everything that happened, but it is so fortunate that we're able to come here on the sim and raise money for such a good cause and help people get back on their feet tonight. So before we send you out for the night. Anything you would like to say before you head out, or any shout-outs?
Yeah, number one, I'd like to thank you guys for doing this for us free of charge. I know you guys did it for us last time as well, and you guys do a phenomenal job. And we just really appreciate you guys doing it and trying to get us some donations in. I'd also like to thank J.R. Miller for donating his and some, as he mentioned. And I just appreciate everybody that showed up, and it was a great event, and we're doing it for a great cause.
All right, well, thank you very much, Clint, and congratulations again on the second place finish here. And so we're going to move on to our race winner with Tim Moore.
Indeed, I am here with Danny Cochran, who comes home victorious and ultimately survives the chaos here at Talladega. And Danny, I have so many questions, because first off, on the second to last restart, you found yourself in third, moved yourself up the track, and you got ditched and ultimately faded back to the sixth position before you ended up missing Calamity, and then ultimately ended up restarting third again. What did you learn from that second to last restart that helped put you in position here to ultimately win this race here in this final green white checkered attempt?
Well, first and foremost, I learned that the outside wouldn't work because it was really easy to get hung out to dry up there. And I don't blame any of the guys racing around me. We're all going after the same thing, but didn't want to put myself on the outside that early again. I learned that early on, which I know on that last restart, I believe it was the 3, he was to my outside, so I didn't have that option anyway. But definitely took some lessons learned on that first green white checkered, and I was fortunate enough to be able to sorry, I lost my voice. I was kind of happy there at the end of that race, and I've kind of lost it a little bit, but used some lessons learned from that first green white checkered and put them to use in the second one to bring home the win.
Now, obviously, too, we mentioned throughout the night, both you and Clint in particular had a real good sense of, being able to push and try to work your way up and kind of, I don't want to say exactly control the race, but find yourself up towards the front and lead laps and so on. What was your plan coming into this race? Obviously, I know 2 fast repairs and everything, but we saw you frequently around the front. Just looked like you're having a fun time and trying to do a bit of learning as the race progressed.
Yeah, the main goal is stay at the front all night, because it seems like the closer you are to the front, the easier it is to avoid the Calamity. Usually, not always, but that tends to be the case. But tonight, every time I got to the front, first time I almost got pushed into the wall and I was able to save it. Second time I got pushed down to the infield and I was able to save it, and that split up the pack quite a bit. So there was probably a third or so of the race I was back in about the 16th to 18th position somewhere. But thankfully we were able to overcome that and get back to the front as the race progressed. We got a few lucky breaks deeper in traffic because I know me as well as a few of the other guys I saw toward the front and the end. There were some checkups, and we were all able to take advantage of that and put our trucks in positions where we were able to capitalize and get in the position we needed to be in to capitalize at the end.
And not to be redundant, but I know I asked JR this question, but for you, being in the lead coming through the tri-oval, you were 3 wide, eventually 4 wide for a brief moment before Calamity happened. Are you holding your breath, and what are you thinking going there through the tri-oval to ultimately cross the line and be the one that will ultimately go to victory lane here tonight?
Well, I sure didn't think I was going to victory lane, because somewhere, I believe it was in turn 3 or 4, the 2 guys behind me had a run, and they went up to the 3rd lane, and I thought I was getting hung out to dry and that I'd probably be finishing about 5th or so, but somebody got turned right behind me, barely missed my left rear quarter panel, and I was able to keep the truck clean twice. That happened twice, once when we were 3 wide, once when we were 4 wide, and the momentum swung in my direction, and I was able to barely edge out, I believe it was Cox at the end there, I was barely able to get ahead of, but yeah, I didn't think I'd ever see the finish line, because I knew when we were 4 wide, I had to push up a little bit, and I think I got into the 3 accidentally, just trying to make room for that 2nd lane there. But, yeah, just narrowly avoided the Calamity for that entire last lap, and really thankful that it worked out the way it did.
Indeed, the gap of the differential between both you and Cox was 1/100th and 2/1000ths of a second, so 0.012 was the differential of victory. And one last question for you, Danny, here tonight. Any shout-outs for your big victory here at Talladega this evening?
Yeah, and I'd just like to say, I'm from Eastern Kentucky myself. For privacy reasons, I won't say exactly what part, but I'm from Eastern Kentucky, and literally the other side of the ridge line where I live, they're the ones that got hammered the hardest. So as an Eastern Kentucky boy myself, really happy I was able to put it in the top 3, and I'm going to donate my winnings as well to the cause that's going to these folks, because there's a lot of them. They lost everything. They need that $100 a heck of a lot more than I do tonight. I have a roof over my head, monitor in front of me, wheel and pedals. I don't need another $100. There's some folks that lost everything. I've lived by a creek my entire life, and I've seen it get pretty high, and it's gotten scary a couple times over here because I'm in the exact same part of the country, and I've faced similar situations. Nothing like what they're going through over there, but I just want to say I'm praying for those all on the other side of the mountain from me, because I know that can't be an easy time for them. Some folks have lost their entire families. Some folks have lost everything they worked their entire lives for, and I'm still sitting here with a roof over my head, 4 walls around me. So I don't need that $100. I'm good. So I want that to go to some people that need it.
Indeed, and I think it was Nita Mascroft that mentioned in the chat on YouTube that said, hey, the fact that Eastern Kentucky and Western Kentucky can unite, and the whole state of Kentucky in general, is so special. And here, even I'm all the way up in New York, and I feel the personality in regards to experiences from Hurricane Sandy and just how much it meant for an entire state, and at some points even an entire country, to unite together. And the fact that tonight we were able to utilize iRacing as a platform to all unite together and give donations. And I also want to point out as well, with you donating that $100 back, that actually does get us to the $500 goal here this evening. So we do appreciate that as well. But Danny Cochran, ultimately, your winner here tonight. And again, we thank you for your humbleness in giving back towards a cause here this evening. However, speaking of causes, how about we move over to Alex Light, who has the man that helped start this whole event here this evening, of Chris Stamper.
Yeah, we got Chris Stamper here in the booth, and normally at this point of the race is where we end and we wrap up and send you guys out for the evening, but we want to talk to the man who is in charge of all of this, who's got this whole thing started through Team 606. Chris Stamper, he finished 5th place tonight, but I'm sure him and all the other guys that are from the Breathitt County area are very thankful for everybody who participated tonight and was here a part of the stream, those who donated. And we talked a little bit to Clint earlier, Chris, about his involvement in the community, and we talked about how you're a school teacher, and I know I'm a school teacher as well, and just seeing stuff that goes on with my students with extreme weather and stuff like that, it's tough. But for the devastation that's gone on there, I'm sure it's really hard, especially being such an involved part of the community.
Yeah, it is. It's honestly really heartbreaking, because you get to know these kids and you get close with them, and you know their families, and it's a small county anyway. So when something like this happens, and people have lost everything, it's pretty hard. I really feel for a lot of these kids. I just want to say, first of all, before I go any farther, thank you to Danny and JR and Clint and everybody that donated their winnings back, and thank you to the broadcast folks for doing it for free. I just can't thank you guys enough for donating everything back. It's going to go to a great cause. Really excited to give it to the Resource Center here in Breathitt County. There's a lot of things they can do with that. They can, the individual needs of students, them folks are awesome, and they know them better than anybody else. So they'll be able to take that money and, get individual kids whatever they're needing, whether it be school supplies or clothes or whatever it means. So I just want to thank you guys thank everybody, first of all, for coming out, and everybody that donated, and then also those folks that gave their winnings back. It really means a lot.
Yeah, I mean, huge thanks again to those who gave their winnings. We actually just got one other donation here from Max Preuss, one of the drivers here for tonight, helping us get just a little bit closer to that 500 goal. But, I mean, one thing, too, you can always still donate, right, Chris? It's going to be something that's going to be an ongoing thing, I would assume?
Yes, I'm going to keep this up for a few days longer. I know we actually got some donations coming tomorrow that I've heard that are coming tomorrow. So I think we'll definitely get to that 500 mark that we set. But people are welcome to keep donating. It's all going to a great cause. I will leave it open a couple more days, and then that money will go straight to the Resource Center, and we'll start putting it to good use.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely amazing to see people from all over the country. I mean, parts that aren't even involved with the area being able to help out and be able to give back to people who need it, especially in this time of need as school year starts for the kids and needing stuff, and with how much loss came through. So before we head on out for the night, Chris, any last words you would like to say to the viewers and everybody who was a part of tonight's race?
I just really want to thank my team, the Team 606 guys. I threw this on them on Sunday, that I wanted to do this, and they've all helped me so much this week. I can't do this alone. I'm just one person. Anybody that knows me knows my tech skills and my abilities to make graphics aren't the best. So thank you to Dustin and Clint and Eddie, Tim, just everybody on the team that's helped this week. They've done so much. Just really heartwarming, honestly, that everybody gave their winnings back and it came across as good as it did. So Eastern Kentucky got hit pretty hard, but we still got the best people you could ever meet, and people that would do absolutely anything for you. So I'm really proud we were able to raise a little bit of money tonight.
Well, thank you again for letting us to be a part of it here tonight. It's been phenomenal.
Oh,
We've been able to
one
raise.
more thing.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you guys, first of all, because you guys did this. I asked, when I asked you guys how much I need to pay you for the broadcast, and the first thing that came back like seconds after I sent that was it's free. We want to help you guys out. So thank you guys. None of this is possible. The broadcast isn't possible unless you guys put the show on. So you guys are the best broadcasting service on iRacing, and we're lucky to have you guys helping us out.
Yeah, well, thank you for letting us be a part of this and help you guys raise the money for your community. It's been awesome to be able to help you guys raise. Once we put in all those the winners back into the donations here, that's going to put us well over $500, almost eclipsing $600, so surpassing our goal. But that doesn't mean that you still can't give if you're here hanging out with us. Again, that link is down in the description below. And as Chris said, it will be live for a couple days. So even if you want to wait a little bit before giving, again, any amount, no matter how small, is going to help out these children that are in need as the school year gets started. So thank you again, Chris, for stopping in and talking to us. And we head back over to you, Tim.
Indeed, Alex, as we get ready to wrap up our final thoughts here this evening, I'll tell you what, it was an interesting race here at the Talladega Superspeedway. The race started off with a bunch of cautions, and once things really settled down and you cut down the field to about 18, 19 drivers, it became absolutely energetic there to the end. Sometimes at Talladega, calamity happens, you get to see a caution in the race, such in cases of real life, just like how they wrecked in turn 1. But here in iRacing, once you see the white flag, there's only one thing, and it's that simple. You're racing back to the line, you're racing back to the checkered, and there could simply only be one winner. And for Danny Cochran here tonight, it was a heck of a win. You talk about the story of just him trying to develop as the race went on, learning from that green-white checkered. It was so big to see him turn around and, number-wise too, but of course we know in the number 31 in terms of him to turn around, cross the line, and end up being victorious. I'll tell you what, I've called a good bit of Talladega races through my time. But this one may have been the most exciting one I've ever called. And I'm proud for this race as well to be my first one here on LSRTV here this evening.
Yeah, it was really fun for this to be our first call here on LSRTV. It was a really cool race to be a part of. I mean, you see drivers from all over the country be a part of this. Some guys, as we found out, Danny is very close to the community that was affected by this massive flood. And so he totally understands. He feels for these guys. He's able to see it firsthand. And so, I mean, again, thank you to him for putting all that money back into the cause. But thank you to all our drivers who turned out tonight. Phenomenal racing. We had almost 40 drivers take the grid, and that creates some crazy racing. I mean, we saw wrecks right off the start. We saw wrecks 10 laps in. We saw it was all over the place. So it was phenomenal racing. Great job from all these drivers. And then, as you said, once you see that white flag, it's just get to that checkered in any way possible. We saw everybody in the front 5 try to do that, and unfortunately, a couple of them got wrecked out coming across the tri-oval. But Danny and Clint gave us one heck of a show to the line. And also want to point out J.R. Miller, thank you again for the donation. Like he said, he was going to match his winnings here tonight, so he put in a donation of $25, as well as he said he'll put his $25 that he won in once he gets that. So, Tim, back over to you.
Indeed. Well, that'll bring things close here tonight at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. From LSRTV, my fabulous compadre in the booth, Alex Light, along with the always spectacular Cody Wooten, who I promise you did a lot of multitasking here tonight on the broadcast. I also want to send a special thank you to Team 606 and to all of you who were generous enough to donate here this evening. Again, if you have interest in donating, the link is attached in the description down below, and we thank you all for those who have been willing to help those in need. And again, it touches home personally to see us unite, not just as a country, but have the opportunity to unite sim racing. And again, I want to congratulate Danny Cochran on a win, huge victory, and again, what was an exciting race to the finish. However, with that being said, I've been Tim Moore saying so long from the virtual Talladega Super Speedway, as you've been watching LSRTV, your home to sim racing.